Oh, we got to do the intro, huh?
Yeah.
We haven't done it.
The best intro on the internet.
Yeah.
Welcome to California, CATA. It's your boy Chili Bo Pippin. Holla at us cool people, where the cool people at? So cool, yeah. And where my ladies? Come on and bounce with me. Come on and bounce with me. Come on and bounce. And all my fellas, what up fellas? Y'all just chill. Y'all just chill. You know I'm so fresh. Know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. I'm so C-double-O, light up your L. This beat is so swell like the homie Rosdale. But no, this ain't no beatbox, we call it street rock. They say the homie Chill Will got the heat locked. Young Cali, come clap for daddy. So savvy with the patty, you can ask the family. Yeah, I'm young, rich, and dangerous. Interest rates fluctuate with my paper chase. Who the boss? I'm the boss, I'll be late today. I'ma drink, and get drunk today. Cause I'm cool in my polo, cool in the Lolo, cool with the fofo, cool with the know I'm so fresh, know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. Bouncing in my peanut butter beans, cooling through the cone zone, blowing in the wind. Roll around town, sitting on chromosomes. Rocks like ice cream, we just call them cold stones. I'm so grimy and I stay fresh. The chicks call me Chill, got it tatted on my chest. Stunner so sick, I can see through the mist. And I'm cool with the bullies, so who wanna trip? Yeah, it's Chill Weezy, hip hop squeegee. I make it look easy, A, B, C, D. Cause I'm cool in my polo, cool in the Lolo, cool with the fofo, cool with the know I'm so fresh, know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. Now get it rockin', and get it rockin'. Leave it to Mr. Peanut Butter to get it poppin'. Now get it rockin', now get it rockin'. Leave it to Mr. Peanut Butter to get it poppin'. Fist of Patron, can't see past my nose. Shake it fast, drop it slow. Get you snapping that neck, yeah, I can make you famous. The king of the West, from CA to GA. So chillin', both fresh. The police right behind me, they wanna catch me slippin', but I's just chillin'. I'm too cool for prison, yeah. And keep it rockin', yeah. And keep it poppin'. You know I'm so fresh, know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool.
Done. We're back.
And that's why things like this are considered controversial. What we really are saying is we're face to face with something that is telling us we must change. And that creates discomfort in us because ultimately we don't want to change. We want to stay where we are. We want to stay in our comfort zone. So that's what this issue is ultimately all about. Evolution always must take us out of our comfort zone and into unknown territories. So it is always controversial when proposing behavioral changes to people who have simply done these things in an unconscious state of mind their entire lives and been taught that it is okay and that there are justifications for these practices. We defined carnism last week as a dogmatic religion, moving on to slide number 9 now, as a dogmatic religion based entirely upon violence. Based entirely upon violence. The main belief system of which is that it is morally justifiable and or necessary to kill animals and eat their dead flesh. I called carnism last week in no uncertain terms the ultimate expression of domination. The ultimate expression of domination. We blew apart, as I said, the normal, natural, necessary argument last week. This argument, I've said, is provably false, immoral, meat industry propaganda. It is not normal, it is not natural, and it is not necessary. And we looked at those provably false arguments last week. We talked about the numbers of lives extinguished needlessly in the animal population just last year alone. 10 billion land animals in 2011 alone slaughtered for their flesh. If aquatic animals, water-based animals, are taken into consideration, that number in the United States alone, in the last year alone, totaled over 65 billion with a B lives extinguished. Worldwide figures were over double that number and places the total number of animal deaths at the hands of human beings in the year 2011 alone at well over 150 billion animals. That is 21 times the population, the human population of this planet. This week, we're going to start in with looking at justifications for the continuation of this practice, and we're going to look at them one by one. And really, there's many more justifications than just the number I'm going to list here, but I want to focus on 6 major justifications for the continuation of the immoral practice of carnism. It is a religion, as I've said. It's not just an ideology and a practice. It's a religious belief system. It is based on things that are not grounded or rooted in fundamental principles of truth. Therefore, it is a religion. A religion is defined by the root word religare in Latin, which means to tie back, to hold back, or to thwart from forward progress. That is what the word religare means, to thwart from forward progress by tying or binding. Religion is binding. We've talked about this before on the show. Religion can also have an alternative meaning of reuniting or reconnecting to something, and that something being truth, being the universal spiritual laws of creation, the universal laws of consciousness, if you will. And that's what we need to retie ourselves to, reconnect ourselves to, reunite ourselves with. That is true religion. But in the sense of religion being used in this world, organized religion and false ideological belief systems, religion is a binding practice that holds us back, that thwarts us from forward evolutionary progress in consciousness. So that is the sense I'm using the word religion in, the connotation I'm using it in. And we talked about what justifications are. Justifications are, we could also look at the root word of justification. It comes from the Latin jus, meaning right or law, and the Latin verb facio facere, which means to make or to create. So when we put these together, justification, it means to create a right, to make up a right that does not exist, to make a right out of a wrong, to imagine to oneself and to try to tell oneself that a wrong is a right. That's what justification or justifying something is doing. It is trying to make a right out of something that is wrong, morally wrong. And justifications really hold no weight. They hold no water. They are something that they're lies that we tell to ourselves. That's really what a justification is. Justifications are lies that we tell to ourselves about what we may be doing, what we are allowed to do, that actually causes harm to other living beings. There's no such thing. If it causes harm to other living beings, you shouldn't be engaging in that practice. So justifications means the creation of rights that do not exist. And I put the slide number 13 with alien beings, seemingly comical slide, until you really think about it and you understand this is exactly what humanity is. For anybody who's truly aware, you realize humanity is food. By our own choice, by our own ignorance, through our own ignorance, we are food. I mean, you want to really know what the purpose of the prison planet is? It's to make you food. That's what the purpose of it is. In very simple, easy to understand language, if you want to really know what the end goal is, it's you being eaten. And you can look at that in physical terms if you really want to look at it that way. I have no problem with you even looking at it that way. But you're being spiritually devoured. The essence of you is being devoured by the dark forces that currently are in control of this planet. and you're being used as a fuel source for them. You're being eaten by them, by those forces, by those entities, if you will. So this is an ostensibly comical piece of social commentary here in slide number 13. But if you want my opinion, it's literally true. It's quite literally the case. And these aliens have a human being on their dinner table with an apple stuffed in his mouth and all trimmings around him, like a Thanksgiving dinner, like a turkey on a table during a Thanksgiving dinner. And they're all making individual justifications. The 6 aliens who are seated around the dinner table, around the dead human being, are all making justifications for why they feel that it's okay for them to continue the practice of slaughtering human beings and using them as their food. So we'll cover these one by one, and I'll talk about what these arguments really are. These justifications for carnism, which I list on slide number 15. Slide number 14 is simply the etymological definition of justification. So slide 15 shows these justifications for the practice of carnism. And the first is what I call the apathy and ignorance justification. We don't really care about just read the book of Genesis, first of all, if you want to even acknowledge this whole notion of, the Bible says, to engage in this kind of practice or not engage in this kind of practice. I think that's a horrible way of judging what's right and wrong. First of all, is that men wrote it in a book and claimed that it was the inspired word of God, and therefore I'm going to just follow that blindly. You need to know, you need to develop true conscience, which is the definitive knowledge of the objective difference between right and wrong. Not have a belief system about what you think is right or think is wrong, and then back it up with man-written words that you're claiming is the divine and inspired word of God. Let me tell you something. The Bible is written by flawed men for the reasons of their own agenda. And yes, they're putting some truths in there, absolutely. Because to have a poison pill be taken by anyone, you need to wrap it in a whole lot of good stuff. Otherwise, you'll smell the poison and you'll taste the poison and you won't want to take it into yourself. That's how that technique of obfuscation works. That's how that technique of worldview poisoning works. To get the poison in, you have to wrap it up in something that is very good. And I'm not saying that that's always the case, but with the biblical
Anyway, Mark's getting old. He's slowing down in his old
Mark's
age.
got a buffer for a little bit.
He's got a buffer for a while.
Yeah.
So tonight we got a packed panel. You guys want to introduce yourselves, starting with John Bob.
John Balls.
John Balls. John Bob needs to unmute.
What's up, guys? I'm John. Nice to meet everybody.
Dustin.
John.
Hey, what's happening,
What's up,
everyone?
Dustin?
Yeah. Hey, yeah, I'm Dustin. I run a website freeasabove.xyz. I talk about objective morality and natural law. So yeah.
We got Jesus' third cousin in the house. Bracky's here like usual. We got Steve Slav Squatch in the back. Everyone's muted, remember? Unmute if you want to talk.
Hey.
And introducing the rare person that actually shows up on the show that I've challenged to a discussion. Justin Netzel's in the house.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Like to give him a round of applause for actually showing up.
You know, it's a rare thing sometimes.
So, what everyone has in common up here, we all have different things in common. I'm not by any means, I grew up basic. I grew up an atheist. Now I'm into natural law. I went to like youth group and had like, Sundays at church growing up, but never really took it serious, obviously, because I was a hyperactive kid that was into heavy metal and stuff like that. So, in my finding natural law and kind of doing more research of the past, I have noticed that, my opinions have changed and have kind of started leaning towards this spiritual stuff a lot more. And especially after Ali reintroduced me to Mark Passio, his work. And so, Facebook is a place where we all scream at each other and have ill behavior. And so we all know what I do there because we all do the same stuff. Justin is here because he gave me a proposition that veganism was unbiblical. And I've been reading more into, I've been doing a lot more research on this stuff, the Bible topic, veganism and vegetarianism in the Bible. And I started off thinking there probably wasn't anything. I might be able to see some metaphorical stuff, but I was shocked to find the amount, a massive amount of vegan and vegetarian rhetoric and characters in the Bible. And I found out that, the Garden of Eden was vegan, and then God's ideal future post sin was vegan. So I can't, in a million years, I'm not a Bible guy, but I can't understand how you could say that veganism is unbiblical. And at this point, I'm going to give it over to the boys up here because they know way more about this stuff than I do. But I'd like to give Justin some opening time, whatever, 3-5 minutes if you want an opening statement. Go ahead. Everyone be nice. I'll be moderating.
Okay.
So I'll be taking care of you, Justin. You can trust me.
Thank you. I do.
I think since I don't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say Justin should go first since he's kind of outnumbered.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't know I was outnumbered here, but that's okay. I just like to focus on what Jesus did. And the reason why we start with what Jesus did when we look at the perspective is because Jesus is the proof for the Bible. All right. He was a real historical person. He existed. All right. He was crucified. That's according to Roman historian Tacitus. He was crucified, right? So we have these basic facts. And then we have the claim in Christianity that he was resurrected. All right. And we have witnesses to the fact in the Bible, people that saw him after the fact, etc. Right? And so that comes down to if Jesus was a vegan, I could get behind veganism, but he wasn't. He ate the Passover. He said, "For I've eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you." And pre-70 AD, before the temple was destroyed, that included a roast lamb because a lamb was required for sin. And that's the ultimate reason that eating animals is even a thing in the Bible, and in that is because we are worth more than them. And I think that's the lesson it's trying to impose upon us, not to say that they're worthless, not to say that animal lives are worthless, but to say that our lives and how much it takes for us to even exist here with all the suffering that we have to experience just to live, you know, just to experience life. I've experienced so much suffering myself, right? Just to even be here today. And so if that's the case, then maybe there's a lesson there, and it has to do with sin, and that we can delve into that later in the show if you want. But yeah, that I think the ultimate reason for eating meat is just grounded in scripture. Jesus ate meat. Paul, he didn't say anything against it. And that's just the Christian perspective. You go into the Old Testament, you go to Moses, and Moses, he obviously saw the impact sin had on human beings, you know, and he's like, well, look, it took Pharaoh to free the Egyptians, firstborn children dying. And that was to free an entire nation of people. And you can argue about the morality of God in doing such a thing. And there may be arguments against or for or whatever, but an entire nation of people was being held captive by one man. Hold on a second, guys. Anyways, I guess they're letting me know some stuff. But that's, I think, about to sum it up. Sin is the ultimate reason for why we eat meat. And until Jesus comes back, I think we're going to be eating meat. And there's land usage arguments we can get into. You know, there's a lot of reasons for why we have to eat meat, and maybe not have to. I mean, there's ways around it, but is it the healthiest? Is it going to provide the greatest life satisfaction? These are questions.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I bullied this little old lady. We were talking about it last week, and she was at church, and I asked her a question, and she was befuddled. She didn't have an answer to it. So maybe you do.
Okay.
So they were feeding everybody at church hot dogs and bratwurst. These are classified as type 1 carcinogens, okay? So if Jesus wanted people to eat chemically reacted corpses of animals that died in fear and pain and lived as slaves, what does the devil want?
Well, the devil is actually a construct of man primarily, but there is a real entity behind it. And I would say what he wants is for you to focus on what you're eating instead of what's coming out of your mouth, instead of the virtue that you should be in cultivating, instead of the things that are more important, the joy that you're sowing in life. You know, if you're so focused on not eating, say, pork, as say Muslims do, right? You know, that's just a rabbit hole you can go down. And pork is disgusting in a lot of ways, right? And that's just one argument. Okay, we can go down there. But that's not to say that, well, I forgot where I was going with that, but
wait. You said that the devil doesn't exist, yet Jesus himself referred to him as Beelzebub.
There's a spiritual entity that exists in man that you could say is the devil, and that is the influence, you know, of previous lies that have existed in the human consciousness. That is called the devil. That's why backwards it spells lived. It's the lived experiences of men that have gone ahead of you, that maybe are 80 years old, putting lies down and trickling down in the chain of consciousness, and you have to fight that. That's the devil. Okay.
So Jesus wants us to consume things that cause pestilence and disease?
Is that what you're saying? Pestilence and disease. I'm the
really?
healthiest.
It's a type 1 carcinogen.
It's a carcinogen. Well, you know what's also a carcinogen? Air, probably.
Okay, so if it's so healthy, why do you have an extra chin?
And what does my extra chin have anything to do with the biblical?
It's your eating habits. We're discussing eating habits.
If it's healthy,
right you should look like chin. You are divine. We're in God's image, right? Why
Can I
do
get
you
in on
believe
this?
that
Being,
you are
are you
created
saying
in
that
God's
bad
image?
people aren't in God's image?
John Bob, let's keep it to the biblical argument.
Yeah. Are you
All right,
saying
I'm
bad people
busting your
aren't
balls. I'll
okay?
lay off for now.
All right.
Let me jump
I'll
in
let
this quick.
somebody else.
Okay. All right. So this is when you started the conversation, the thing that got me is you said you wanted to start with Jesus. I normally don't start books halfway through. That's not the way I read. I don't open a book halfway through and go, "Oh, wow, okay, I think I learned a lot from that." Let's look at Genesis really quickly, right? Let's look at Genesis, let's look at the layout. Now, we literally understand that humans were designed and created to just eat plants. We know that, right? We know that this is how the human was designed. It's what we were designed to thrive off of. And we also know that the divide happened with Cain and Abel. We know that, right? When Cain killed Abel, we know that this was a level of darkness that happened. It literally divided the people. The book of Enoch literally describes the reason his bloodline and his movement was the way that.
Hello?
Well, that's frustrating. Where the fuck did he go?
I don't know. He's caught in a moment there.
We have another Mark Passio buffering moment.
The
Well, I mean,
AOL
I
struck
think-
again.
I think it's pretty obvious, where he's going. This is Steve Slavskos talking.
The miracles of
it's,
modern technology.
Yeah, the original murder in
Well,
the Bible.
And what was it
Right.
over? What was
Taught
that
to
original
eat meat.
murder over? It was over the fact that God was accepting an animal sacrifice.
Christian, you are
over-
frozen for a second, so you're gonna want
Oh,
to go
yeah.
back like 30 seconds.
Okay.
You're on a good one though. Like, just start over.
Okay, can people hear me now? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. Pretty
Yeah,
much what
yeah,
I was
yeah.
getting at there. Okay. What I was saying is that when you look at the book of Enoch and you look at his whole bloodline and his whole family and his movement, they made sure that people understood that the darkness came from Cain. Cain was preaching to people, just like the corruption of Satan, all the way through, that it's okay to do this. No, there's nothing wrong with this. This was a sacrifice. My father said it was okay. This is a lie. This is a full-blown lie. And that's why I get so frustrated when people want to bring up things that have to do with Jesus thereon. Because people need to recognize for a minute that, again, the book was written by flawed men. When we talk about Genesis, we're talking about what we actually know that is a physicality that happened. We know that this was a bloodline. We know this happened here, and these people move forward from here. We also know that from the flood on, that randomly, Noah somehow just shunned the shit out of Hyam. Was like, oh yeah, no, I don't.
That's getting frustrating.
Movement of eating meat. He did that all the way through. Did I freeze again?
Yeah, you did.
Where did I freeze at?
Like 10 seconds ago? I don't know.
Noah.
Okay.
We were talking about Noah and Hyam.
Oh, I was talking about how, Noah banned Hyam. He literally was like, bro, get the fuck out of here. And like, I feel like that's because of his belief system compared to what his bloodline was. I feel like he shamed him and shunned him because he went the other direction. And I feel like it's the same thing that happened between Cain and Abel. We just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. And there's still the divide. And it's always this little chunk of us that are like, no, compassion. These animals have as much value as we do. The trees has as much values as we do. We're all important to this world. And it's always somebody else that says, nah, God gave it to us. It's totally cool to fuck it up. He gave us domain to just fuck it up. So it's cool. That's how I look at it. Anything we talk about that, the levels of factory farming, everything, this is just industrialization, even religion. Even from the movement of Jesus forward, it's industrialization. Do I respect Jesus as somebody who died for his beliefs? I do. But I respect him the same way that if John was killed for his belief system. Because John is, out of all my friends, he's pretty straightforward. He's an asshole, but you know what? He's fucking faithful to his beliefs. And I believe that's very important, following to make sure that your life doesn't impact anybody else's around you. You don't kill something to make sure you can move forward. Because in the end, like John stated, it's a level of toxicity. When you're eating the animal, you're just eating it to get the nutrients the animal ate. If you didn't, why don't you go eat a fucking lion? I know you can't, but you know what I mean? Like, if you want to be a deep carnivore, then go do it. Just not a level. Industrialization kind of destroyed the concept of what real belief is.
Don't
That's my
carnivores
method.
eat each other?
Well, I think it's important to address this argument that you're making, that primarily if you look at the surface of the land, for example, do you know how much is meant for growing vegetables? Let's just say
16% of the farmland, yes. 16,
okay,
right,
and
guys? 16
then
to
what's
20?
left over can be for livestock, right? It can be for
85%, correct.
Yes, exactly. Now, what are we supposed to do with these animals? That what are we supposed to do with this extra land? Are we just
Okay, so me and John have talked about this. We've talked about this. This is what we do with them. You let the bro, shoot them in the fucking head. Go psycho. Be the nasty person you already are. Kill them all. We keep breeding animals into existence that shouldn't be here in the first place. They would already be dead and gone.
And kill all the dogs and all the cats.
I don't. You do.
All them.
I don't. You do.
Because they're obligate carnivores.
I don't want to do that. You do. I'm not trying to do that. You are.
I feed them food from grown animals that are made for that purpose.
Wait.
You know what I mean?
Dogs are not obligatory carnivores. They actually have longer, healthier lifespans on a plant-based diet. The studies have been done. It's quite fucking clear. Even cats on a vegan diet, each generation,
remember, no health stuff. No health stuff. What does Dustin have to say?
Well, there's a lot of energy in this one. I was, maybe if we could go back to some of the biblical text of what you're trying to say, Justin. I mean, I appreciate what you've tried to put together and try to synthesize this, but I see it's a bit lacking in biblical sort of text that we can pull through, and then how you join those texts together. That's one thing I would like to see more of. If you can, bring up some text where you're pulling from. And then second, this understanding that there is a lot of assumptions made about the Old Testament, who God is in the Old Testament, and Jesus, who that is, and how that's been done. There's a good guy to look up, Bart Ehrman, and he does good work on the historicity of Jesus and how the New Testament was put together. And he's debated William Lane Craig and things like this. So these are high hitters in the biblical evangelical world. So if maybe you could clarify a little bit with some maybe key text of what you're building this from, and then your assumptions about the Old Testament and Jesus, and if you have any like sort of pinpoint evidence on that. I don't know if that helps a little bit, but to sort of narrow it in.
That clarifies and narrows it down. So let's go and prove Jesus is the Messiah. Okay, let's prove that. So that's a big one. But yeah, go ahead. You have Daniel's 70-week prophecy. Okay, and Daniel in there says, from the time of the edict going out to rebuild Jerusalem, there will be a certain number of years, 77s. All right. Now, those sevens is like 491 years or something. And we actually have, you can date it using either the Bible or archaeology. You can date it that way as well. But either way, who arrives right on the scene to be Messiah at 491 years after the edict to rebuild Jerusalem goes out? Jesus. He's the only one that fulfills it. There's no other Jewish person that could. And it says in there that the Messiah would be cut off at this specific time. And you can go back and you can pinpoint to the day that Jesus died based on the 14th of Nisan, which is the Passover, right? And you can go back in time and you can identify that Daniel predicted to the day, pretty much, that Messiah would be cut off. And that is proof for Jesus right there, Daniel's 70-week prophecy. All right. So now Jesus comes on the scene and he's resurrected, and you have more proof. You have the proof of disciples dying for him, for the truth that they saw him after the fact, and they were pushed to recant, you know. And so all of these facts come together and prove Jesus is who he says he is. Now, is Jesus a vegan? Yes or no? And the answer is he's not. He says in Luke 22:15, and he said to them, I've eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. He was about to suffer. And you know what? That animal suffered too. But he suffered even more as a human being being crucified just for existing and telling the truth that he was God. And that was his main crime, that he did all this good deeds. He did all this good stuff, and he didn't do a bad deed. You can't name one bad deed Jesus did. You can't name a bad thing he did. But what you can name is the bad things we did to him, which is that we crucified him. And that's terrible. But he overcame it through his resurrection. And that is his proof of his divinity. So it all comes down to not whether he's a vegan or not, but whether or not the resurrection happened. And we can, debate that probably till, he comes back.
Yeah, no. So I get it. That's the Christian ethos, and that's great. Yes, about Jesus the Messiah and dying and everything. That's great. It's really, I think, the biblical texts don't really offer much on a definitive statement of Jesus's diet necessarily, or that we really have to sort of, the burden of proof lies on that claim. I mean, to say that he's vegan or not, it relies on that, on really getting at the text to show that. So what I'm saying is, you're making big claims, and I see how you're trying to tease them together, which is great. But the key topic of this is veganism biblical or not. I think that's what we were trying to go at. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but
yes.
and
he said specifically unbiblical. So against the Bible.
Yeah, so that's the key. That's where the focus has to be. And I don't think that will be a fruitless endeavor. I don't think you'll ever get there. And jumping out of the Bible and moving further into a higher spiritual position, once you understand nature and understand what's right in front of you, you will see then that there's actually a morality in nature. And unfortunately, with churchianity, it doesn't give a complete morality. It does not. It doesn't go after the things that folks have been showing us for centuries about what actually is moral. And this is because of how it's been obfuscated. The truths about Christianity have been obfuscated way back in the day when the canonization of the Bible got put together by the early church fathers, and how they left things out, and now how it disseminates further. So what I'm saying is, you would have to really convince me with biblical text to show me how it's unbiblical. And I don't think you would get there, is sort of my thought process right now. So I'll leave that there.
Well, I would just say, where do you get your idea of right and wrong? You wanted to transcend the Bible and go above it. But reality is, everything in our justice system, it's based on Christian morality, and it's based on the Bible, actually. Judean Christian ethics. That's where common law comes from. And
so go ahead. Sorry.
Anyways, so when we understand that, where do your ethics come from? And mine come from God. And so I'm letting him define it. I'm letting him define the ethics. And I showed you in Luke 22:15 that he said he greatly desired to eat the Passover. And it's a fact of history that before 70 AD, they ate roast lamb with the Passover. That's what the Jewish people did. And Jesus, being a Jew, he could not have fulfilled the law unless he ate lamb.
Well, that's
And
not
Didn't he do a lot of unorthodox stuff, though?
He did a lot of unorthodox things, but that doesn't change the fact that he was not a vegan.
All right, so hold off. First on, right now, what you're trying to tell me is that you're trying to tell me that basically because I went to West Hollywood, I did heroin. That's kind of what you're getting at with the whole Passover situation. That's all I'm saying. At nowhere does he say he ate lamb or anything like that about it. There's a few misconceptions and mistranslations when it comes to fish, but you asked me where I get my belief system from, so we'll just start right off the bat. The God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit within seed in it, and this will be your food. Genesis 1:29. That's where I got my diet from. That's where I got my understanding of where I'm supposed to eat from. Now let's move forward to, you want to know where I got my belief system from? It says, basically, hold on one second. Am I at the right one? That you will do us no harm, just as we did no harm to you, but always threaten, you will always send your way peacefully. And now you are blessed by the Lord. So we're told right off the bat, again, in Genesis, it was Genesis 26:29, that don't harm anybody, don't harm anything. So God gave you a structure of how to eat, right? He told you where the food is, how to eat it. It's right there. And then on top of that, he told you don't harm anybody, don't harm anything. That's not your job. I'm not talking about lions. I'm not talking about any other concept of how to live some life and use a tool. I'm talking about how you were told to live originally. I'm not trying to piece together anything, and I know we want to keep this within scripture. That's great, but I want to state also that this whole understanding of trying what you did by piecing it together, saying, well, if he did this, then he did this, that ain't going to work. That's why I'm trying to use the whole breakdown of, look, what I know is this happened. We know this happened because this is documented within Genesis. We know that for a fact. That's why I try not to move it to a situation and we say, well, John the Baptist said this, and then Jesus did this, and we know this is what happened, because we don't actually. We have no idea. In my mind, everything after the flood is really just kind of pieced together. It really is. We know the structure.
Who wrote Genesis?
Who wrote Genesis?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
No one knows.
Moses.
Even the no.
Yeah.
That's even debated. That's even debated amongst.
It is debated
scholars.
amongst. Yeah.
Okay, well, somebody wrote the Pentateuch, and they were all 5 put together, and it talks about Moses in these books, and he
Who came hundreds of years after the flood.
in the books, and nobody disputed that for how many thousands of years until Bart Ehrman or some glorious new savior from the modern era goes back 3,000 years and deciphers who wrote it. But it says in there Moses is the author. Moses wrote this, and he in there realizes sin is the cause of why.
Okay. I get why you're saying, but what I'm getting at also, because also I don't like to just use Christianity. I use every combining religion to this. What we know about Genesis is very connected all the way around the world. We're not even just trying to throw random things in here. We're just literally, that's what we all agree on. Anything after Genesis, if you haven't noticed, we're all kind of up in the air about it. I mean, literally, what is the biggest argument between Muslims and Christians? And mind you, we believe the same stuff. What's the biggest argument? Is Jesus the Son of God, or is he a prophet?
Quick question.
He's both.
I've heard people discussing the Jewish Bible. I've heard people discussing the Catholic Bible. Therefore, we are bringing up multiple scriptures at this point, and I'm wondering if the Essene Gospel counts, and if the Giants count, and if Enoch counts. I mean, are we discussing scripture, or are we discussing specific books? Because I want to know what I can discuss right now.
Enoch for sure counts. He matters. He's important. So obviously, but as far as we don't need to speak of giants right now because we're not even within that realm of conversation. I mean, let's talk about what connects to making
of the Essenes, though, and I think that definitely correlates. This is scripture about Jesus. We're discussing Jesus, right?
Well, and that's we're running in a conundrum here because that's the whole thing about this whole topic of Christianity is the canonization of putting the Bible, the books of the Bible together, and the Catholics moved in a different route with the Apocrypha. The evangelical Christian moved into the regular without the Apocrypha, and then you have the Essene text, and so you have and then other religions like the Quran and things like that. So no one has actually even really decided on what the full the full purview of what actually the scripture or the text are. So we run into this conundrum. So that would have to be something that we would have to spell out specifically on what we're trying to think about here. And again, this is the issue. A lot of Christianity pulls one into the sense that mine is right. What Passio talks about, this part of the Bible is right, and this is the only scripture. Everything else is nonsense. And then you talk to someone else in a different religion, and they say, well, no, this has to be included. And this is what the church fathers had decided back in the day to put this together. So it's really a subjective experience. However, the evangelical Protestant Christians, they will say they use certain criteria which pulled out the Apocrypha, the Catholic.
At the Council of Nicaea, right?
Yeah. So they've talked about how they pulled stuff out because of certain criteria. When they talked about Jesus, it didn't match with the other gospel writers, and so they pulled that out. So they try to say it's objective criteria they used. However, it's still subjective. So to my point, this is what everyone keeps running into is what is the text? What is the biblical text of things? And this is the thing. So this is what religion can do, and not understanding a full history of how things came to be, right? So those are my thoughts.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to say something that occurred to me is, there are in the realm of the farming of these, vegetables that we all eat. Because I eat tons of vegetables. I'm not defending an obligate carnivore diet, nothing like that. I like to mix and match and, have as many different variety in my diet as possible, right? Now, how many animals have to die just to get, the farm, going? How many critters have to die? Say you have a homestead, you're lucky enough, you're rich enough, you have 6 acres.
You're talking about mass production, bro. That
No,
when
I'm
you
not
talk
talking,
about that,
I just was going on homestead. I just said 6 acres. Say you're lucky enough to have a homestead. You still have to protect your crop and kill tons of creatures that are going to sneak past your fences and your defenses.
Can I ask you a question?
We're talking about the Bible, remember?
Yes,
we got to keep it on Bible. We're not talking about health.
But it still all relates. Because
that's fine. Let me answer that really quickly. So right off the bat, have you ever had that kind of land? Have you ever had six acres of land that you grew on?
I haven't.
I grew up on 90 acres. I promise you, it's not what you think. You're literally trying to give me a stereotype right now that's not real. I get that you watched Yellowstone and it told you that turning the soil kills every mole and everything. I get the argument, buddy. I really do. But that's not real. That's not how we live. John, what do you kill when you grow things? I kill nothing. We grow above ground most of the time, and then on top of that,
have a grocery store. Congratulations!
I don't.
Have a grocery store. It's distanced from the killing. Just like me and my meat eating, I don't have.
But that's also a problem.
Hey, Justin, can you put your mic more in front of you? I could barely hear your mic.
Is that better?
and what? Yeah, that's better.
Well, hold on. Let me get just a word in. How you treat your farm. You could either treat it with care, or you could blast everything out of the sky like Ted Nugent. There are 2 ways of doing things. All this crop death stuff, this is carnist farming practices, very irresponsible carnist farming practices that have been going on far too long, that are responsible for the majority of crop deaths. There are veganic ways of growing that barely, put a dent in this thing. And we've debated a farmer. You probably know him, Garland Farms. We debated him several times on a debate channel, and we smoked his ass. He conceded. We did weeks of research on this. There are studies about crop deaths in South America. They did several, and all this flub hubbub you guys talk about killing all these, you got to protect it with a machine gun, like every bird is blown out of the sky. Like, it's complete nonsense. Like, there's tons of ways of not killing animals. You put up fences, around your crops. There's tons of ways of doing stuff, especially now. They have little lasers that kind of scare birds out of the trees. There's all kinds of people who take very good care with their farms and spend a little bit of their bottom line on making sure that the local nature isn't obliterated by their farm. It's the irresponsible carnist farming practices that where you get all these, we gotta kill all the foxes and kill all the bunnies and kill all this stuff with this. It's just not realistic. You don't have to run machinery over a piece of land to grow in it. Like, it's complete nonsense. So let's stay off the crop death stuff and stay on the scripture, because I like hearing, because to me, there's a lot of scripture about and a lot of characters, that we could be talking about, instead of arguing these nonsense crop deaths argument,
Well, maybe
arguments.
It is nonsense, but I think it's important to just flesh it out a little bit. And you're right. We could focus on scripture. One scripture that comes to mind, I could look it up real quick if we need it. But one scripture that comes to mind is from Paul. And, it's a matter of faith when it comes to eating meat, and if you have the faith that God, say, died for you, and that he takes care of everything, every living creature, I don't think eating meat is problematic then, because Jesus, and that I guess that's really the question. Did Jesus eat meat? And I don't think he could have followed the law and not eaten the Paschal lamb. Let's put it that way. I think he had to eat the Paschal lamb.
That's great opinion. That's great. And you're trying to connect two things together. But in terms of looking at what scripture actually says, you have no basis for what you're saying. Now, I get it. You're trying to move in and connect, but you're really
the basis is historical context. And he would have been a very weird Jew to not be eating the Paschal lamb, wouldn't he have? And that would have been probably the first thing that Paul would have written down. He would have said Jesus refused to eat the Paschal lamb and caused an uproar.
What's that? What Paul?
All right, hold on. Let me just throw this out here. Corinthians 8:13. Paul said, "Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the word standeth."
Now, what is he talking about? Is he talking about idols, meat sacrificed to idols? Or is he talking about just, every little situation of eating meat?
No, he was literally talking about turning to he was talking about turning to vegetarianism because it offended his brother.
No, he was talking about the eating of what scripture are you reading?
8:13 Corinthians. 8:13 Corinthians. Pull it up.
Okay, 8:13. Which one? 2 Corinthians or 1 Corinthians?
1 Corinthians.
1 Corinthians 8:13.
With that text, Justin is more correct in terms of the
it's food sacrificed to idols,
culture in terms of the culture in Christianity and how they put that verse into context. It is, they do it in a way to say, hey, if you're causing your brother to stumble, a brother in Christ to stumble, then you need to back off so you don't press in on them. This is how the Christian ideology talks about this verse, but it is not, at least when I've been in it and studied it, it's not to pinpoint don't eat meat. So that would be a bit of a jump. Now, that's the way I've understood it all this time.
All right, I've already vocalized that anything that comes after Genesis is pretty much opinionated. It really is. It's all handwritten. It's all man. The one thing I've already stated is that everybody kind of agrees, what kind of happened within that. And as far as we talk about, that doesn't mean that it wasn't. I'm not trying to, state that people didn't eat meat and that there wasn't, this happening or whatnot. The argument is eating meat unbiblical? I think I proved that in my first conversation. And every time we move forward, I mean, I think we're just trying to piece things together. But I mean, what's the
I think we
conversation
proved it.
I
here?
guess it depends on how we define the Bible. I define the Bible with Jesus, you know, and then we have to go into that. You know, if you just want to keep it as the Torah, you know, you still have problems with, you know, Cain and Abel. Why was Cain killing Abel? Because his sacrifice of a lamb was acceptable to God. So even in Genesis, if we just take that one book, we still have an animal dying for sin.
Okay, here, I got a line here. For no man can serve two masters, for either he serves Beelzebub, and the translation for Beelzebub is Lord of the Dunghill, loosely translated. All right, and his devils, or he serves our earthly mother and her angels. Let's see, and her angels, either he serves death or he serves life. I tell you truly, happy are those that do the laws of life and wonder not upon the paths of death, for in them the forces of life wax strong, and they escape the plagues of death. Now, I know you keep saying not to bring up health, but what plagues do you think he's talking about?
None
Jesus was
I've
a healer.
experienced.
All right. On that note, we're going to watch this little short video.
As a Christian, you may be thinking, vegan, but Jesus ate fish and lamb. And if Jesus did eat meat and fish, then it can't be wrong for me to do it, right? I definitely used to think this. So join me today as we talk about all the points of Jesus's diet and how you can still be an ethical vegan. Let's start with lamb. Now, while there's absolutely no scripture claiming that Jesus specifically ate lamb, some people assume that he and his disciples would have had this during the Last Supper meal. However, during the Last Supper, the Bible only mentions bread and wine, but people will argue lamb would have been an obvious choice. It didn't need to be stated. However, there are some valid reasons why I believe Jesus didn't eat lamb. In his book, For Love of Animals, Christian Ethics, Consistent Action, the author Charles Camasey gives 3 reasons that Jesus didn't eat lamb. The first argument is, quote, Jesus and his disciples often defied the religious laws and customs of the day. We see this when Jesus and his disciples pick grain on the Sabbath, when Jesus heals on the Sabbath. And just because something was customary to do or to eat on the Passover doesn't necessarily mean Jesus did that thing, because he defied other strict religious laws and customs during his time. Second, it isn't at all clear to scripture scholars that the Last Supper was in fact a Passover meal. Now, I've heard this point argued a few times that the Last Supper was the night before Passover, the night before when the lamb would have been sacrificed. So then the Last Supper wouldn't have been a Passover Seder where lamb was traditionally served, but just a standard Jewish meal. There's a great article I will link below that will go into more detail on all of this. But in this argument is the fact then that Jesus would have been sacrificed on the day of preparation, the same day that the Passover lamb would have been sacrificed for the Passover Seder meal. And Jesus, being the Lamb of God, being sacrificed on the same day as the Passover lamb seems pretty timely to me, which leads straight into the third point. Quote, the symbolism of Jesus's sacrifice replacing the old sacrifice of the Passover lamb is too perfect to ignore. During the Last Supper, Jesus gave bread and said, this is my body. He gave wine and said, this is my blood, which is shed for you. He is replacing the Passover lamb being eaten with bread and wine, a vegetarian vegan meal that is to show that he is the sacrifice. He is what we put our trust and hope in now. He is who reconciles us with God, not this Passover lamb. If a lamb was served at the Last Supper, don't you think it might have been mentioned by Jesus, Lamb of God, or by his disciples in order to draw a parallel between Jesus and the Passover lamb? It's just too perfect. Why wouldn't they have mentioned it? Okay, so Jesus didn't eat lamb, but he ate fish. He most certainly ate fish. Now, I'm not here to argue that Jesus didn't eat fish, although you could find that, but I'm not here to make that argument. I will say there is one instance in the entire Bible that shows Jesus eating fish, and it happens to be right after his resurrection. So let's get into that. That's going to be Luke chapter 24, verses 40 through 43. When he said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. While they still could not believe because of their joy and amazement, he said to them, have you anything here to eat? They gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it and he ate it before them. So this verse doesn't even say that fish is part of Jesus's normal diet. But what this section in the Bible is trying to say is that Jesus was resurrected physically. he's actually there. He's not a ghost. His disciples, joy, amazement, disbelief, doubt, they think he's probably a ghost. And to prove to them, I'm not a ghost, give me something to eat. They give him a piece of broiled fish. He eats the piece of broiled fish to show them, look, I'm physically resurrected. So that doesn't have to do with Jesus's normal diet at all. That has to do with Jesus being resurrected. But let's go on to say that it's not just that verse, but that fish was part of Jesus's normal diet. Then you say, I can eat fish and it's totally fine. However, we live in a vastly different time than Jesus did. Jesus lived in a time with a lot less viable food options. It's argued in the book For Love of Animals that in the ancient Middle East, there were a lot less adequate sources of protein than we normally have today. It's also argued in the book that if Jesus ate fish, it was most likely out of survival rather than the reasons we eat fish today, which are taste and convenience. Also, our modern fishing practices are wreaking havoc on our world, something they weren't doing back 2,000 years ago. The way
Hey guys,
it is,
I gotta get out of here.
bycatch, which is the incidental catch and mortality
I got
of
other
non-targeted marine animals, is estimated to be 6.
All right, brother.
Who's that?
Justin left.
Yeah,
that
I
Steve
gotta
that's leaving?
go. I gotta go, guys. Peace.
Okay, it's good talking to you, brother. But
Yeah, it was
I think,
good talking to you all. Maybe we can do it again sometime. Have a good one.
Yeah, but I think your claim that it's unbiblical is unfounded. You don't have any text for that, so that's what I would add
Maybe
to that.
you might be right, but I think that if we are to follow Jesus and that is the biblical standard, I still don't agree with this. You know, the little video that we just had there. But, anyways, I
There's
don't have
a
time to get
Well,
movie.
into
it seems that you're not able to acquire, new information.
I would recommend watching Christspiracy and learning a little bit about the subject, but God rewards those that
Oh yeah.
protect
Where do we
his
watch
life,
it, John?
not destroy
Where do
it.
we watch Conspiracy at? You tell me, I'll
Sure,
watch
on
it right
YouTube.
now.
I'm sure.
I can't find it right now. I watched it
Yeah, no
though.
shit.
I was in the theaters, motherfucker.
Anyways,
Were
have a
you?
good one, guys.
Have a good night, Justin.
Later, dude.
Peace.
As I told Allie, he would run from the show, and he did.
Well, yeah, he was destroyed. He didn't have actual factual.
I
basis
couldn't
for
believe he
it.
picked that premise. I'm like, unbiblical? Really? Because I don't think you can prove that. Because
It's an easy one to prove.
stuff in the Bible.
Yeah, it's
I've
easy to
only
prove.
scratched
Fish
the
was
surface.
translated wrong. Like, I can't believe nobody brought that up the entire time. Like, fish was actually fishweed. So you probably ate
Yeah, we
seaweed
didn't-
when you got that.
We
Well,
thought
I mean,
we were
we-
going to have longer with him. I didn't know he was going to run after a half hour.
Yeah, I
nothing to
thought we
do
were
with
gonna have
that.
more time.
Had nothing to do with that little.
He just and with the video, once she started talking about the extra vegan stuff, like the fishing stuff, he's like, oh, okay, no,
Yeah.
I get it.
No,
Oh,
you
yeah,
can't.
he
You
was
can't.
good.
You can't come up here and argue with these guys. I've collected. Like with any of us. Like you can't beat us.
Bro, he brought up
I
factory
actually
farming.
believe-
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he was relentless on the factory farming thing. He was like, "You guys cannot be sustainable. Your farming kills things."
As a killing.
No,
thing,
once
bro.
we started doing the crop
Animals.
death stuff, like it's like, okay, well, I already told John Bob to shut up for talking about health, so you got to stop with the bogus
Yeah.
crop death stuff. Like, because
I mean-
that's me and Allie are actually experts at crop death. And, we actually know quite a bit more than pretty much anyone about it begrudgingly because we had to research the shit out of it. Because I went up on a anti-vegan debate channel and debated a guy several times and had him concede at the end that obviously the animal agriculture industry causes more harm than plant agriculture. Like that's like
hard not to
like
argue.
this guy coming up and asking for these crazy premise. Like you can't prove that. Like I don't know.
I thought maybe he maybe would bring something better to the table, but
You mean
that-
livestock eats plants, bro? I thought
God, just
livestock
there's
survived
so-
off other livestock out in
Just
the
so many
infinity.
things. so many things in the Bible that like are mistranslated and mention eating meat. I was like waiting for him to bring up any of them. He didn't bring up any. Like he just kind of focused on the Jesus thing, and I'm like, God, really?
Yeah, that's usually what it is. I've never actually read any like because I've been out of it for a little bit, but any like biblical scholars or textual critics who've argued in this realm of veganism versus not. It's not a thing in Christian culture, in Protestant Christianity. It's not a thing. You have meat, you do it, and this is the whole culture of the whole system. So it's really interesting if someone was actually could bring their parts like a theory together and put it together. But like I said, the Bible's not going to give you that. You're going to have to really stretch to reach it and put it together. And so his claim was just
in the street,
yeah.
propaganda cult. You're in a fucking cult.
Oh
I'm
shit.
not in your cult. Gonna find out that you fucked with the wrong one, boy.
Oh
But thanks for
shit.
coming out.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, Justin, wherever you went. Oh, we got someone else up here. Who's this?
Oh, hi.
Howdy, William Nelson. How you been? We got a living meme on our hands here. We got a living legend vegan meme.
Oh, yeah. I know about that meme.
What's the meme? I don't know.
Oh, you've never seen it? Maybe Braxton, can you pull it up?
I actually
you can present.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Sure
I didn't catch the meme that time when that was mentioned.
Oh, he could tell the story. We got a big audience. Tell the story,
Yeah.
William.
I posted a picture on Facebook of me eating a meal at a vegan restaurant. Somebody made a disgusting looking meme out of it.
Oh, that's shitty.
Yeah, it went around quite a bit. Like it caught on pretty well. But it didn't really make sense. Like I had to look at it for a while. The first time I saw it, I was like, wait, are they... it was like, Carnus can't meme. None of their memes are good. They're either completely bogus information or it's just like meat, bacon, bacon. Like it's like the weakest memery, but it wasn't a very good meme. But now he's a living legend that graces us on our show every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, okay, Braxton. So we got to, while everyone's here, what did you see? Okay, so where's the CPAP machine? Tell the whole story, Braxton. Tell everyone. This is very serious, everyone, especially if you're into One Great Work Network or Mark Passio or anything like that. This is a very serious story. Braxty's going to tell us.
Yeah, this was really disappointing to see. This was probably like a few nights ago. Will Keller and Logan Hart had like this huge announcement to make, and it was like a 8 to 12 minute long video, and they're basically just saying how amped they are about this new opportunity that they're going to be bringing to the One Great Work Network, essentially. And what it turned out to be, they did the big reveal. The video was unlisted. You had to go out of your way to find it or be following them, which they have us blocked. So the fact that it even came across my computer, phone, whatever, that it came across my purview was kind of a coincidence. But it was an hour-long presentation, at least, of them just talking about this kind of new agey pseudoscience, like basically a hydrogen machine. It's like a CPAP. It looks like a CPAP machine mixed with like a soda stream. It carbonates your drink with basically with hydrogen, and you breathe it in through like a medical apparatus. And there's so many things wrong with it.
Brown's gas.
Do you sleep with it?
You just put it on throughout the day, I guess. Like they're all about like say for instance, like
okay, so it's not a CPAP machine. It's not for helping sleeping.
No, it's literally just like you put it on and you like replace air because air is so bad for you.
So it's 100% bullshit, basically. New age bullshit. That's something John Bob would buy, right?
Hey, fuck
goes
you.
John Papa.
Oh, you'd fucking buy. I know you, John. You'd fucking buy it. Don't you lie.
John buys all that stuff.
Yo. Was it this thing?
Close, but they actually knocked that one, and this thing would have cost like $5,000 if you were to buy it.
Show it again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hydrogen. It's just I mean, I appreciated it. I don't know, I'm not in this, so I'm just meeting all of you, but I appreciated it. I mean, he's talking
I didn't know
about
I was coming into a shit talk.
yeah, I mean, it's drinking hydrogen water, and it's hydrogen molecule water, so I guess it's a difference. So they basically explain the whole process, and in that world, there's a manufacturer that makes the highest quality one. And so that's what they were.
Oh, you mean
so
like
Kangen?
Like Kangen water?
Yeah, even above that. It's not a filtration. It's not a filtration system. And now this is what I'm hearing from them.
Better.
So it's not a filtration system.
Oh no, your reputation is on the line, buddy.
And so it puts hydrogen into the water so you can drink it or you can breathe it. So that is their sort of system, and it offers a lot of health benefits. This is what they've said. So
yes,
that's what it was. I didn't know there was a thing about it, but I thought it was pretty cool.
It's interesting, but $5,000, and they're probably making like less than $300. That's being generous. They're probably making less than $300 per unit sold through the company, and like some people were passing it off as if they were starting this little business venture, but they're just a third-party distributor essentially. So it seemed disingenuous the whole way through. Like, I didn't watch the full thing, but as I'm watching it, you just see the typical marketing tactics where they're trying to down talk other products. They're trying to play this up as being like the industry standard, and it's just so much just deception. It felt like that you always see with like that's typical of like multi-level marketing scams, which we've seen millions of.
Literally.
How
How
is this animistic? How is this animism? How is this, like getting back to your, primal whatever that this guy says all the time? Like, how is generating revenue for the tax for the death machine? Like I can't even count so many reasons why. Taking they're doing the typical influencer. Okay, well, I'm out of like good content, if I even had any to begin with. Now I have to start selling stuff since I have an audience. Oh well, they're not giving me donations because of my work, so I got to start selling them shit. That's really like, I can't stand when activists do this. It drives me nuts. Because the message goes out the window once people start asking for money, begging for money, and they quit their day job. I've been saying it since 2010. If you're an activist, keep your day job. Do not try and make money from it. It's just going to ruin anything. But they've gotten a following from being on the coattails of Mark Passio. And unfortunately, and neither of their YouTubes, nothing they're doing is making any cash. So now they have to start selling bullshit that people don't need. Like, truthers, we all need to keep our money. We need to invest in cryptocurrency and like food and guns and stuff.
Like Chinese garbage that's gonna fill the landfill. I mean, it's just complete materialist garbage.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have that thing for 30 years like they say with their warranty.
I don't see this being in line with natural law in the least bit. And I haven't heard these guys talk about natural law. They just keep talking about this faction of animism that they're starting. That's just this watered down, some natural law lingo, some Mark Passio lingo, but then a bunch of marketing mixed in, straight up marketing. And those dudes, we ask them simple questions about what they believe in, and they block us.
Of course they blocked us because they're about to roll this out, and they don't want any of us around for this, because obviously, look what I'm saying about it. They've
been in the work for a year, according to Will.
Yeah. And it's because just kind of scummy behavior. Like, people don't need some CPAP machine that sprays hydrogen. Dude, this is like snake oil 101 new age bullshit. And these guys are supposed to be Mark's golden boys. And I haven't seen any good work from these guys at all. And everyone's like smoke showing, like everyone just kisses their ass all day because they're Mark's buddies. And
they're borderline taking advantage of the movement and the community or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I would say IMO.
So she's in, she as well as I know Dustin, you're in the new media course. They have the secret new media course chat, which is like moderated by Will Keller. And there are loads of people, of moral relativists in there talking shit about Mark Passio. And it's like, what are you guys doing in here? You know, like, I don't understand. Why does Will Keller allow these scumbag moral relativists to hang out in these chat and in this chat and harass his new members to his freaking $500 course? You know, like, what's going on with this place over there? Like, I'm shocked. Like, it's just being run, and it's money again. You know, Mark is trying. Mark's got to make money.
The mic got disconnected, I think, Jeff.
Can't hear you.
Mic is muted, Jeff.
Hey, brother, can you hear me? Your mic's not working, dude.
Yeah, I think it got disconnected.
I think you got it. Working on it.
He must have figured it out.
I'm going to be straight up here. I know they spent 10 minutes discussing how that thing was a gimmick. I know you, John. You're thinking about how to get one right now. Don't you fucking lie.
Christian, motherfucker, I got one. It's not a fucking gimmick.
I knew it.
Fucking kidding me? Of course I got one.
Nah, I actually have one.
Hydrogenated water has actually, they've done studies. I mean, the shit works, but I mean, only to an extent. You can only do so much to polish a turd once you eat wrong, you know? You damage yourself, but actually,
I mean, $5 kind of
your
steep.
body is a good idea.
$5 kind of steep. I got mine for 2,500.
2,500?
Yeah. The company has different models. I looked on the company's website. They have different models. So they have a smaller one that's like $1,300 or something like that. So they work up. I mean, that's just on the company's website. So they were just selling more of the deluxe model.
That's so lame, dude. Like what they think they're Alex Jones or no? I keep calling Logan Hart Logan Paul, who also is another scammer who's on a podcast that's scamming people, and I keep forgetting that they're not the same guy. But no, this stuff's it's real like these they need it just irritates me beyond anything. What's happening here?
Like if I had hydrogen water like what you guys have, like how fast could I go? Like I think about that when you guys talk about it, like, man, that sounds so expensive. Like would I be faster on my bike with it? Like would I go so much faster?
How many more watts will you get?
Well, how many?
Like Vanderpool?
All
How
of them.
many?
I would be. Fuck Vanderpool. Cushing time. That'd be me.
Well, I've been on it for a couple of years.
How many more watts did you get? The
I've
more
been on it for a couple of years.
you go, the better you function. You know what I mean? Well, within reason. But you're a battery, dude. You make yourself more alkaline, make your battery run better, you're gonna get more fucking watts.
Well, I've been on it for a couple of years now, and it's not bad. I think I like it, but I use it a lot. So but on the topic of the Mark and the network and stuff, I think you're definitely right. I mean, you need to grow a following and have like legit material and that people come back to, and not just like maybe like 100 or 200 people or something, which they don't even have like.
No,
like legit.
If you have
like
200 good people, like I got 8 good people, and I got a show. We've done 40 episodes. I think we're doing pretty good. So imagine with 200 people, I've seen good activists be supported, pretty well by 200 people. But those activists were really good activists. Like they were doing some really good work. They weren't just repeating concepts, Mark Passio's concepts, to a video, to a camera, cosplaying some sort of guru guy, shaman. Like I can't with these guru guys with their button up black
and
shirts,
I mean, obviously, like, compared to your audience, their audience obviously see through their bullshit and don't come back. That's why they don't really have anybody watching them.
No, that dude, those dudes were live and they were like making fun of my numbers, and I'm like, bro, I go to Will Keller's page, he has a video he put up, 0 views in 2 days. I'm like, holy shit. That means 1,000 of all 1,000 of your fans didn't want to watch that video in 2 days.
Like, you can tell that people, just people like, oh, Will's video is coming on, I'll make sure to skip that one. Because
well, I mean,
what else?
We've played a lot of his videos up here. We've given him many chances to teach us something, and it's just like, I don't know what he's saying. And then once I do understand something that he's saying, it falls flat because he's still a carnist, and he's still, now he's trying to scam people, and I called this out like a couple months ago. I'm like, these guys are going to start trying to make money, and it was just like on cue, because those dudes are watching the show and they heard me, and they blocked every single one of us are blocked from them on YouTube and Facebook because they're cowards. They were marketing. Braxton went on their show and asked them how you can spiritually kill an animal, and the dude just like had a meltdown and blocked him, and it's like, whoa, if you're this guru, shaman, natural law guy, you should have 10 answers for that question off the top of your head, but he can't do stuff off the top of his head.
Help me out a little bit, because I'm just meeting all you. Are you talking about Will, that he's not vegan? I don't know. I wonder who you're talking about.
Will claims to be vegetarian.
Oh, okay. All right.
But he has he does not promote it. He has terrible takes on, he still thinks that humans should be able to, do stuff like that. And we've talked to him about it, and he just doesn't, he can't, he has nothing to give back to us. He doesn't like vegan. He's very anti-vegan. And I feel like he's vegetarian, so he could like be around Mark, and at least look like he's like not full of shit, being a full carnist. But we don't really buy it, because of his rhetoric and because of the people he hangs out with and what they're doing and their bullshit, like stuff that they say about this neo-paganism, this neo-pagan new age faction they're making with their, and they're doing, now they're selling stuff. And it's like, how is that, pagan, bro? Like you're literally consuming, and you're making you're promoting materialism, which is like, I don't understand like how these guys came from Mark Passio's group, his team. Because I got 5 guys on this panel that should have been on Mark's network, years ago. There's far more principled people out here that could put better content out than half the people on that network. But it's a money-making venture for Mark. He's not going to yell at the dudes that are giving him money, so I get it. But it just kind of sucks, but he's taking the godly position here. He's like, all right, well, eat meat, idiots. You're going to have to, that's what it seems like the begrudge, when, at least from what I've been looking at the Bible, God begrudgingly allowed these whiny ass, weak humans to start eating meat again. And he's like, all right, well, once you start eating meat, it's going to be real hard to get back. To, I don't know, get into heaven maybe, or to get to the post-sin land. I mean, I hope I'm not offending anyone with my terrible biblical words, but it seemed like then he's talking about how he doesn't even want lions to eat other animals in the future. And it's like, how are these guys saying that it's unbiblical veganism and all this stuff? Hey, we got new person in the house. What's up, Craig?
Hey, how's it going?
What up, buddy?
Well, real quick, what I want to say is I appreciate, you guys' like commitment to morality and not harming, no matter what, animals. So I really do appreciate that. And regarding Will and all that stuff, I'll have to talk to him and work all that out. But I do appreciate your
Yeah.
power behind that. That's awesome.
Sorry to put you on the spot. It's just kind of it's what happens over here. You know,
Yeah,
we just
no worries, no worries.
Tempers start flaring.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate the hospitality and the invite. So yeah.
Yeah, dude, come back.
You out of here, Dustin?
No, I'm here. I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay, cool. Oh, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
good. I just wanted to follow up. No, yeah, and then I know that. Well, I just saw that the new guy, Craig, he's a pastor, and maybe he has some ideas about veganism in church. But anyways,
I do have quite a few ideas, actually.
Welcome.
Hi. So Jeffrey and Ali, is that who was talking just now?
Ali.
Yeah, Ali.
Yeah, what you were talking about reminded me of Numbers chapter 11, where the Israelites were eating this manna from heaven that God was providing for them, and then they got sick of it and they were craving meat. So God said, okay, fine, you want meat, you'll get meat to eat. Prepare to eat these quail. And then whenever they killed the quail and ate them, it says while the meat was still in their teeth, before it was chewed, they were struck with a great plague and they all died. And they called that place Kitroth Hatava, which in Hebrew means the grave of craving, because there they died after lusting after the flesh. So the meat the flesh.
Didn't know that. That's a good new one.
Numbers chapter 11.
That's pretty good, bro. That's awesome. I've never heard that one.
Noted, yeah.
Some new fun stuff. That book is so vegan, it's ridiculous. Every line in it, I think.
Fine. So what's your deal, man?
So Creation Care Church, I don't have any lights on, that's why I'm trying to, you might not be able to see me, but Creation Care Church, we're a vegan church, and we do sermons each week promoting veganism and animal liberation, because it's God's ideal from the beginning and he never changes.
Wow. Very, very, very cool. Where are
Thank
you?
Thank you.
Church, where can we sign up? Do you have what would it be called? Do you have an offshoot down in Central California?
So I record in a few places in Southern California, like San Diego and Loma Linda, but we do most of our services online. So you can go to our website, creationcarechurch.org. We have a Facebook page. We live stream on YouTube and on Facebook. You just look up Creation Care Church.
Holy crap! Awesome. So you're Southern California. We're all Southern California kids here, or at least us two.
Nice.
We're from LA. We do a bike race in San Diego every year called the Belgian Waffle Ride. That's pretty epic. It's in San Marcos.
God, that's weird. I don't think I've ever had this conversation with you, but I went to Murray Junior High, and then I came out to California, and I lived in Long Beach for like 8 years.
Long Beach?
Like I went to 8 years. I lived in Long Beach. I went to middle school and high school in Long Beach, California.
Did you?
I went to Rogers Middle. Oh yeah, fuck yeah! I was a skater, dude.
Did you go to LA ever? Hollywood?
Of course, all the time. Did I remember the nights? Oh my gosh!
2000s?
Yeah, I showed up to Cali about 90. I showed up to Cali about 97, 98, and then I stopped coming to California by like 2003.
Oh, okay. So I was partying hard in Hollywood in 2003, 2004, 2005. Like
I mistakenly joined the military in 2003. Went to basic in 04.
Oh, geez. Holy cow.
Yeah. It's fucking
That
stupid.
must have been fun.
Oh yeah. You know, they gave me a real good signing bonus. That was
Steve's in
fun.
the house. Steve's showing his face.
What up?
What's up, Slav?
What's happening? Take
You
a
get
few
the
supplements.
awkward spotlight. Who hasn't gotten the awkward spotlight yet? Where's Braxton? Oh, Braxton's still here. Oh, he's hiding behind Mark. He's hiding behind Mark.
I
There
blew
we go.
smoke out of his ear a couple times.
Have you Craig, are you into natural law at all?
I'm not super certain on what it is. I've heard of different versions of natural law. I studied philosophy in college.
Oh, cool.
I love philosophy. Love it.
Natural law is kind of like I don't know.
It is what it is.
That can't be. Bracky, come on.
I'm like,
dance, Bracky.
Leave him alone from me.
Oh boy. So yeah, I was trying to change internet service providers today, so I didn't have much time to prepare. What else was I trying to talk about tonight? So okay, so the whole so Will, the Will adventure, that's kind of sketchy. Definitely definitely do research and stuff on these products quite a bit before buying anything like that. And like one part of me kind of gets it because they're like, oh, well, instead of buying this from someone else, buy it from us. But it's like, dude, you're trying to sell people junk. I thought they were going to be like doing a coaching thing or like, Debbie's in the house.
Yo, what's up, man?
I thought it was going to be a coaching thing, which is way better than selling products to people. What do you think, Devin?
What's that?
About Will Keller and Logan Paul. Logan Hart.
It's just a bunch of nonsense, dudes. We're just wasting our time.
Fucking Logan Paul.
We're getting away from teaching the core message, and they clearly don't know the message of natural law, so that's why they're going off topic. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay.
You got that sick ass headset on. Of course, we heard you.
Oh yeah, this is the only way I can get some quality
Tactical headset.
audio. It's a Razer like gaming headset. Otherwise, you got to hear it through the
did you watch
speakerphone.
the debate we had earlier?
I came in towards the tail end when that guy started bringing up crop deaths. Like he came to debate Christian veganism, but then he didn't have much more to say, so he went into like crop deaths. So I was like, oh god.
He did. He went left field.
Yeah.
Field of dreams.
No. That's why I was thinking. I think Craig kind of missed the bulk of the debate, with a Christian vegan debate, because I feel like Craig's got a lot of answers.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, Craig? Talk to us.
Yeah, Devin invited me to join, and he said the link was in the chat, and I couldn't find it, but T sent me the link to the StreamYard, so that's how I was able to join.
Oh, didn't you try and join a few months back?
I did, and I was having internet connection problems, and I couldn't get on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that was our first Christian show. But yeah, I've been just deep diving. I was just shocked to see how much vegan rhetoric, vegetarian characters and stuff there were. And so I've been just kind of collecting more information. But it definitely so I had this I get dudes screaming at me on my Facebook all the time. So one of them that's just always talking about, how it's unbiblical. I was just like, it can't be unbiblical. Like, I feel like I wouldn't even need help to argue that one. But then I got all the homies show up that know quite a bit here. But I've just, the more I learn, and the more I'm learning about spirituality through natural law, the more I'm leaning more towards, these old stories actually having some stuff to them. Now that I know what an actual Satanist is, which is 90% of the people in the world basically these days, now that that information has been de-occulted to me. It's kind of I'm just, I don't know. The whole spirituality thing was something I struggled with quite a bit in my life, and that's why I never got into Mark Passio, actually. And Allie was able to shake her butt in a certain way to get me to watch some videos. And now that I got it, I'm siding with more of the theist story these days, which is surprising because I was always kind of a little Satanist shit, at least an atheist back in the day. So I'm far more open to all this stuff, and in just researching, whether or not, eating meat is mandatory in the Bible, which a lot of these guys think. These guys, they have these arguments like, oh no, you have to eat meat. And it's like, okay, so and I had my Garland Farms debate, one of the pre-debates, those guys were watching my videos, and Jason was talking about getting punished. We're supposed to eat these innocent animals as punishment. And I was just like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, why would anyone, like, how does this make any sense? But then now I know, no, he didn't want to let you eat animals, but you guys whined about it and cried about it. So he begrudgingly allowed you and said, hey, you're going to have to do some work to get out of this moral pit you're putting yourself in before you want to get into like some other place. And it's just like how, it's like I'm learning now. I'm learning their propaganda and like seeing that it's complete bullshit. And I didn't read I haven't even read the Bible yet. And these guys supposedly, and a lot of these guys probably haven't read the Bible since they were 16 or something, and they didn't even know what a vegan was, and they weren't even those guys were vegetarian, and so like I think they know all this stuff, but they haven't probably looked back, with that mindset of, hey, these are actually vegetarians and vegans and carnists in this, and they're definitely teaching morality in here. So maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to this. But the one thing that I just don't get is that they choose to take side on the air, or err on the side. They're not choosing to err on the side of caution and do the diet that you originally want us to have. They're just continuing in the carnism and saying that they're better than us because of it. And it's just like, it's more Christian hypocrisy, I guess, by fake Christians, fake ass Christians, I got all these Mark videos Allie wants to play, talking about fake ass Christians, but it seems to be true because they all seem to have it wrong. But anyway, yeah. So Craig,
it doesn't take getting very far into the Bible to see that God designed us to be vegan, because it literally says in the very first chapter of the first book, I designed you to eat a vegan diet. Genesis 1:29, I give you the fruit of the trees and the plants of the ground, that shall be your food. So, and he says, I declare the end from the beginning. And so it's not like God messed up. And it's like, oh, well, God, you forgot to add animals to the menu. He didn't forget. He designed a world that are supposed to be image bearers of him. And he says he's the God of compassion and love and mercy. And Jesus in Luke 6:36, he says, be merciful just as your Father in heaven is merciful. So are we being merciful to the animals? Are we trusting in him and being faithful to that plant-based diet that he gave us? Very good. Or are we rejecting that? Are we acting contrary to that? So I think a lot of people, they just ignore what's sort of obviously true, and they just do whatever they want. And you hear a lot of the same kinds of excuses that you see just in the world, where instead of hearing, well, lions have teeth or plants have feelings, instead it's God gave us permission, Jesus ate fish. And so it's just like they just use different excuses to do the opposite of what they know they're supposed to be doing.
Well, and you're speaking of a morality too, which is not quite delineated clearly in Christian ethos. The morality is we do not have the right to take another innocent sentient being's property. That is not our right to take, and that's natural law. That's morality. It's objective. And so what you're synthesizing from the text, which is great. I'm just reading Numbers 11 that you talked about. But even as you zoom out and look at what morality is, it's not stealing property. And that's the key that sort of ties all of this together, which will eliminate suffering from stealing. And this is what all our aims are to do on this planet, is to eliminate suffering from stealing.
That's the goal.
Well,
Yeah, it's
somebody's
like a
body
distillation of the golden rule.
Well, if somebody's body isn't their property, I don't know what is. Seriously, it should be pretty simple to understand that one, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, go ahead.
By the way, I told off a fat blonde this week at a supermarket.
Can't even.
Oh,
congratulations.
Fucking John.
She's like, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to discuss opinions. And I looked at her and I
John
said,
Ball's in the house.
I said, I don't discuss opinions. I discuss medically documented facts because I don't like looking stupid. Because she said meat was food, and I said it was a type 1 carcinogen. You should have saw that fatty storm off, big old ass jiggling. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness.
Why do these people do this to themselves? They claim to know about diet as they're like, 60, 80 pounds overweight, and it's opinion.
Dude.
It's ridiculous.
Well, what's worse is they're not doing it to themselves, but they're imposing their opinions on others.
Yeah. Yeah. Much worse. They're harming innocent individuals, That's fucked up.
Yeah, we're pushy by telling somebody not to violate somebody else's rights. Like the point I was going to mention earlier, like I heard this said really well recently, and we were kind of talking about this, but like the fact that animals only have their own lives, that's their property. It's their only property that they have in this world, unless, they're kind of affluent or, they start making their own little collections of things, kind of like beavers, I guess, with their dams. But other than that, it's just their body. That's all they have. And we decide to just ruthlessly steal that by eating meat. So makes no sense. It's definitely not moral.
Sad. It's really, really sad. Like, genuinely.
Hold on, though. Wait a second. You mean, like, if Jesus ate meat, like, it doesn't make it moral? Come on.
Well, let's discuss meat as well. Like, I feel like nobody brought up the word meat. Meat was originally discussing the flesh of fruit. Meat did not mean meat. So I don't even feel like people know how
It
to
wasn't a
use that word.
description of the body of an animal. It was a description of the material that makes up the fruit.
Yeah, it was like the innards of like a fruit that had like a casing or a shell, like nuts and seeds or even fruit.
Yeah, like I was thinking of something I ate today that usually people refer to as the meat, and that's like a coconut. The white part inside the coconut, most people refer to it as the meat.
You got it, brother. Like a pistachio, you don't eat the shell, you eat the meat of the pistachio.
Right.
Yeah. Braxton nailed it.
Yeah, and even, regardless of anybody's take on the Bible too, it's like all the sayings that were sort of I guess anti-carnism were basically saying that like Jesus or whoever of the disciples, they abhorred the consumption of flesh, which is pretty specific. They're talking about animal flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's getting into like sacrifice too. It's like it's not self-sacrifice, it's sacrifice of other animals taking their lives.
Yeah.
Well, it takes 2 seconds to Google like whether original Christianity ate meat or not. It's very well documented that the original followers of the Christian diet, the Christian Bible, were vegan and that they didn't eat flesh. So I
Well,
mean,
you know what it
it's
is, John? It's a huge misconception of understanding of like what meat was available back then. I mean, when people think back then, like now, they honestly, for some stupid fucking reason, think every night on the table was a massive lamb. There was fish that surrounded it, a bunch of bread. They think every night that's how it was. In the fucking Middle East, they just in their head somehow they piece that together, and I'm like, to realize that up until like the 1930s and the 1940s, like meat wasn't a heavy consumption thing. I mean, sure, certain cultures picked up on it off and on, but it was never a massively heavy thing, like in almost any society.
Well, what's the original name for the group that started Christianity? Craig probably knows. Wasn't it the Nazarenes? And they were following that strict vegan diet
I thought it was
before.
Essenes? The
The
Essenes?
Essenes were the Jewish group, and then the Nazarenes and the Ebionites are two of the terms for the earliest Christians that they were vegan. And so, like, I did a sermon and I ran a discipleship school class on this called Evidence for Veganism in the Early Church, where I cite dozens of passages from texts in the first couple centuries that they all agree that all the disciples were vegan and the entire church was vegan for the first century.
And then after that, it was corrupted.
Who rewrote what in order to change things? They hijacked their greatest enemy's like following and changed it. Which we all know, like the elites will like lie to us, and trick us, They've been doing it for 2,000 years. They're making money off these corpses.
Yeah. So who was the original person to corrupt that?
I don't know that there's one person, but I think it largely took root around the Bar Kokhba revolt, which was in the 130s, so about 100 years after the time of Jesus. And that's when it stopped being this like Hebrew Nazarite religion, and instead it became this Greco-Roman sort of married to the state kind of religion.
Sounds like that's when they rolled in the pagan stuff into Christianity, like changing the names of the planets that they used as gods into
It's kind of around that time.
Yeah,
when we kind of get the when we get the because when we look at the history of like where religion kind of got pieced together to where it came from, we kind of look at the beginning of like Greek mythology where we had multiple gods, multiple beliefs. We had like Socrates who kind of explained that the gods don't really give a fuck about anybody here; they're above everything. And then we kind of went to we went to Taoism from there, where it was like a level of selflessness, and then we kind of formed into where we are now. And I mean, honestly, religion was becoming a thing probably 200 years before Jesus Christ was there. But I mean, nobody really knew how to piece it together until after Jesus died.
Yeah, it makes me think of like how we have the names of the week. And we have certain celebrations throughout the year, the equinoxes.
Oh yeah,
that were probably originally Christian.
Our calendar is really funny because it's funny because it's like here's our original calendar, and then multiple people just felt the need to go, well, I want something to do with it. So here we are today, and we sit here today with a calendar that is basically halfly made up because people said, I want to be a part of a calendar.
Oh, are you also a believer in the 13-month calendar?
It works.
I'm kind of back and forth on it. I don't want to say I'm a full believer, but I'm open-minded.
Yeah, complete lunar cycle in each month.
They've done studies, dude, and it works out very, very well when they do that. And they've done it with multiple species, multiple humans, and humans even have a better state of mind. Yeah.
Well, and even going
Caesar
back,
really fucked up the calendar, didn't he?
Dude, religion fucked the calendar up.
Where's Craig's church race lever? What church?
I found this video. It's pretty funny.
It's online.
Oh yeah, it's in Southern California. You guys are all gonna have to move to California. It's in like San Diego. What you said, Escondido?
Take back LA. Yeah.
We do our services online though, so you could always just tune in over that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Craig hosts like an in-person church, right, Craig?
Yeah, it's we switch where we do it. So the best way to join is either on YouTube or on Facebook.
Negroes.
What do we got here?
Sorry, my bad. I'm a terrible broadcaster. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, what I was going to say about meat, again, that word, it disassociates the person from actually what's on their plate. So it's an animal that you're eating, and it's a cow or it's a chicken, right? And that these words keep us distance from actually what's happening. And animals aren't products. It's an animal, right? And
Objectification.
Yes, it's a body part of an animal, right?
I think the word you guys are looking for is euphemism. It's a fucking euphemism.
Right. Oh, like steak versus like a cow's dead body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like euphemisms they use.
Or
Yeah.
meat packing plant instead of slaughterhouse.
Correct. And that's how it gets into the culture.
Ultimate,
Mhm.
Yeah. That's the ultimate
Well,
argument.
that's how we normalize it to our children, right? Like that's how we normalize it to our kids. We teach it to our kids as it being meat, and it's like it's simple for them to adapt. And then at some point, some northern fuckers teach their kids to stuff their hands in a fucking cow's ass,
Old
and we don't
school,
find that weird.
warfare tactics. I mean, to get the people to rally on your side, you got to dehumanize the others to get them to want to kill and murder the other side.
Yeah, got to belittle them.
Yeah, language is so important in these times. Yeah, it's called the Spear-Wolf hypothesis in linguistics, where the definition of the language starts shaping the behavior of the culture. And that's a mind control technique that works over and over and over. So yeah, it's gnarly.
Yeah, another word for it is ritual spellcraft.
That's why I call people fucking betas.
It's pretty impacting.
I'll leave it to John
Betas. John Ball's peak male specimen. John Balls.
You may not like it, but this is what the perfect male looks like.
It's pretty hilarious.
I love using that at people. I'm like, I hate pointing it out, but John is chiseled like a Roman fucking god.
Yeah, you're our resident raw vegan, right, John?
John Bob is our resident raw vegan.
Very proudly so. I love
Very proudly so, he is.
Our guy that contributes to the stereotype.
What stereotype? The fact that
false
vegans are skinny?
stereotype, of course.
This from motherfuckers that have breasts and an extra chin. I'd rather be skinny and chiseled and solid and happy and fuck these guys. I don't give a fuck. But I do think it's important to use language to cut these motherfuckers down like they will to us, you know? Make sure to point out their extra chin. Oh, I complimented my neighbor this week. I didn't tell you guys about that.
No.
I have this land hippo of a neighbor, but it's a dude, you know? And he was walking around carrying his garbage up topless. And I complimented him on his tits. This motherfucker must have had some D cups hanging out, man.
Nice tits, man.
And we got our local obese people in the chat, our obese trolls showing up. It's always someone who's obese, and it's always someone who has a terrible relationship with food that's giving out food advice, screaming from the rooftops. Yeah. So yeah, I saw this video the other day. It was pretty funny. We'll watch a little bit of it.
All right, brothers and sisters, Negroes mad at me.
Negroes are mad at me, as always happens. Every time I do a video on Jesus not eating fish, Jesus being a vegan, the Negroes come out in their feelings, getting in their emotions. I just do these response videos for the few of you all who have an ear to hear. Okay, most of our people are lost cause. Most of our people are stiff-necked, hard-headed. That's how you know we're the Israelites. Just look at the history of our people. So what always amazes me is, why is there so much backlash over something? And again, I'm speaking to those of y'all who have common sense. Most people don't. So I'm speaking through all the ones who don't have common sense. I'm helping those of you all who do have common sense to continue to refine your logic, because logic defeats stupidity every time. It defeats stupidity every time, okay?
Every time.
So the logic is, why is the Minister of Wellness teaching sexual degeneracy? No. Is the Minister of Wellness teaching that we can, sleep who we want to, that we can smoke and party all day and have orgies? Is the Minister of Wellness, teaching that Jesus is a white man? And is the Minister of Wellness teaching any of these things, that we can be drunkards or cheat people or steal from? No. Minister of Wellness is not teaching any of that. The Minister of Wellness. So what is the backlash over? The backlash over meat. Yeah, meat. I'm getting viciously attacked simply because I don't believe that the heart of God, the perfected way, is to torture and kill animals for food. That's all I'm saying. That if it doesn't produce life, don't do it. And that Jesus came to end death. And so let's exemplify that.
Yes.
Let's live in a manner that produces life and joy and happiness for all of God's creation. Why would somebody fight against that? Why would somebody fight against that?
Yeah, why?
Stiff-necked, hard-headed. I read in the book of Proverbs 18.
Why fight against? That is why I'm here doing this, calling these guys out. Why fight against us? You are using you anti-vegan moral relativists in the One Great Work Network. It's shocking.
Imagine using your energy to fight for slavery. What the fuck?
And then calling yourself a truther.
Mm-hmm.
And they call us, they say we're in a cult. You sacrifice animals 3 times a day to your death cult. Like, are you insane? They just don't want to, who dropped off?
The cult of not doing something. That's insane.
There was a scripture that talks about, and this applies to many of you Negroes, just running your mouth in the comment section. And it talks about the foolishness of someone. They don't even hear the case. You come to a conclusion and you haven't even heard the case. That's a foolish person. You Negroes are foolish that fill up the comment section trying to bash. Yep. Of course, I'm going to delete your comments when you bash my character. Now, if you have your statements like some of those, you just come in there with just attacking my character. And remember, you're attacking me for what? Attacking me for what? What am I teaching that's going to be a detriment to black people? What am I teaching that's going to be a detriment to black? How is me teaching that it's a sin, the truth about the Bible, that Jesus did not eat fish and was a vegan? How does that take away from the success of the black community? You cotton picking pea brain.
Fucking trash.
I just want somebody to answer me that. For those of you who have common sense, Pastor Ryan, Mama Jones, Sister May, Sister Harris, Brother King Will Pearson, what am I saying that's to the detriment of the black community? I mean, that's why the Bible in Book of Proverbs 18 says you're stupid. For you're running off at the mouth, and you haven't. If you would just think about that, can you start there? Just think. Just calm down. Stop being emotional, and just think. Okay. What would happen if it's true that Jesus did not eat fish? He was a vegan, and therefore true followers of Jesus Christ should not kill animals, but should eat fruits and vegetables. Is that a bad thing for black people? Would that be a bad thing? No, it wouldn't. And you know it wouldn't. So if that's the premise, if the premise is that what I'm teaching would actually produce life to black folk, why are you fighting it? And wouldn't you then shut up and want to learn why I came to that conclusion? Furthermore, my success story. I've been a preacher since I was 18 years old. I was raised by a pastor. I guarantee you, 99% of you all listening to this voice, I was raised in a stricter Christian home than you. 99% of you. Only a few of you can match the way I was raised. My father, I'm a preacher's child. I'm the son of a pastor who had a master's degree in theology. A hellfire, brimstone pastor, run you out of the church. My sermons is preaching so hard against sin. So logic would say, man, if the minister of wellness, the way he was raised, and I mean, my son's mother used to cook me. One of my favorite meals was fried catfish and grits. Fried catfish and grits, chicken wings, Burger King, fried rice. And I defended that way of eating with the Bible. So if a man like me, you might want to sit and think, how would a man like that, a hardcore meat eater, and now he's saying that Jesus is a vegan? Man, I need to sit back and learn from this guy. Then if you watch the fruit fast videos, you see black folk killing disease on fruits. What am I teaching that will be to the detriment of black folk?
Yeah.
Yeah, soul food is supposed to be
But what I'm
vegetables,
doing is
man.
I'm attacking idols of your heart. I'm attacking idols of your
I
heart.
hate that.
And then some of you just jealous. Like you just come on
Yeah,
attacking
it's
my
not
dad.
a
You're just
bunch
jealous,
of
but you're
dead
still listening.
animals
I
fried
love how
up.
people come out of the woodworks.
That's
The one
slave
that hears in
food.
silence.
Slave
Come out the wood with
slop.
all your ass up for
Hey,
money.
you should
Slave
watch
for serving orphans. The Bible said the Bible commands us to
Milton
give to
Mills,
those who are serving
MD.
our people. I preached for 90
He's got a
minutes.
good
And
video
guys,
on that.
I like Milton Mills. He's a cool
Milton
dude.
Mills, yeah,
I'll check that out.
Yep, he's got the video on the original soul food, and he's talking about that as a black man. The real soul food is not the plantation slop that they gave him. It's the food they brought with them.
Yep.
From their culture.
Yeah, what was passed down from like slave owners, stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
all the unwanted
Pull
scraps.
it up, boy. You can present. You guys can bring up any videos you want.
I haven't seen that
Let me
one
see
in a
if
while.
I can pull that
I'm
up.
gonna drop out. My battery's gonna die, guys.
Oh, peak male is leaving
Uh-huh.
us. We're losing half of our
Uh-huh.
masculinity.
Oh boy.
The show's
Good night,
gonna be
guys.
all wimpy
Appreciate
now.
you.
You can literally feel it falling off.
Beta's left over here.
We're not worthy.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to point out it's really interesting because there's so many people that will say like, veganism is like a white privilege kind of diet, but the reality tends to be that people of color, if you want to say that, tend to be lactose intolerant. They tend to have more instances of diabetes and heart disease. They're more negatively impacted by these foods. So it's really good that there's people like Milton Mills who are going out there and making that case and like trying to basically point out like, you're genetically more predisposed to follow this diet, the proper way of eating. Everybody should, but if you're more likely to suffer the health effects, you should definitely be following that advice.
I posted the link in the StreamYard chat. I don't know if you can see that.
You can present it from over there. Just hit present. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll
really?
get it.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure how to do all this. Let's see.
Okay, boomer. Jeez.
Dude, I'm on my
I know how to
phone.
use computers.
I'm on my phone, dude. I don't know if I have all the functionality like you guys.
He doesn't have all the gidgy gadgets.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mobile streamlined version.
But also
Recording.
adding to the idea of veganism and morality is I'm coming to the conclusion. I don't know what you all think about this, but we don't do this because it's a duty. We do this because we care. We have no duty to be moral. We have no duty to do anything, but we do it internal motivation rather than an external motivation. So this is why there's the fire in us, because we do it because we understand. I mean, I do it because I know, because I care. I don't want the suffering to happen or property to be stolen.
Right.
So there's some thoughts.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's about, for me, I always think about bringing myself more in tune with nature, with what's right and what's moral, to, you know, like that tuning fork, just being at the right pitch, you know, singing at the
Yeah, I
same
mean,
note.
most of us, you know, I'd assume are vegan for the animals, obviously. And that's why, you know, like I've said this before, I get caught up doing lots of health and environmental debates about veganism. And, you know, it just really, none of those really matter. Even this, I mean, of course the Bible stuff matters too, but, you know, for the most part, fixing ourselves and stuff like that is a lot more important. Jesus' third cousin. But yeah, we'll see our video here.
Yeah, because we're gonna make more change in the external world by fixing our internal world.
Hey, Jerry's
Correct.
here. Congrats.
All right. So let's talk about soul food. And notice that's the question.
Hold on.
Question mark.
Jerry's in the house. How's it going, Jerry?
What's up? Sorry I'm late.
Oh, hi, Jerry.
Oh,
Hey, Jerry.
I caught some things, but I didn't hear the whole thing yet.
We
You
had
playing baseball?
Oh, go ahead.
I had band practice, and then I had my other podcast thing, and yeah. How's it going?
There was a debate, but it was really short-lived.
We're having fun. It was a pretty underwhelming debate. He debate. He very quickly
that was a
resorted
debate.
to talking about crop deaths and stuff like that. So there wasn't much of
Right.
He ran from the show basically, which is, you know, that's a concession if you leave a show like that. If you're in a debate and you're just like, I'm getting out of here, guys. I don't really have time for this. It's like, you lost. And I, you know, like the way we act on Facebook, you know, it's always funny dragging these guys up here because they're always so nice up here. You know, they're like, oh, hey, buddy, you know, like it's always so
Wait,
nice.
which one was that?
Aww.
Who was
He's
that
just
guy?
one of the. He's not one. He's a regular, but not like a real regular on my page.
Oh,
But
okay.
he's just one. I've tried to debate. I've tried to schedule him on the show a couple times to come up because he always seemed actually willing to come up, not like all these other guys to just make excuses and run and hide. Like I invite at least 20 to 30 people to this show a week, and
Like the
zero
guy
of
that's
them
gonna
show up.
sue
He was
you.
the first one. It's crazy. Kudos for that, at least. But he didn't have much. He didn't have anything that interesting. And we didn't even really get into anything until before he ran off. I guess he didn't like
nothing. Like
I was watching because it destroyed
feel
all
like
the
we
stuff
just-
that he brought here.
I feel like we just talked about like how the Bible and like the creation of life and everything is supposed to be plant-based. It explains that. And then he was just kind of like, we're like 1 + 1 = 2. And he was like, oh, but wait a second. There's 37. There's 68. There's 247. And we're like, dude, but that's not what we're talking about. And then he left.
Whoa.
What was it? It was but Jesus ate the lamb, even though my Bible doesn't say it was, but
Right.
historical
Last Supper
code.
thing.
That's
Yeah,
right.
because all Jews ate, you know, like
Passover.
what says in history, like how could you go back in history and know exactly what people ate like that? Like seriously, I don't think so.
Especially when his whole thing was to rebel against the customs of the time that he
Well,
was
I mean,
born
don't get me
into.
wrong. There's certain times that we could probably piece together where they said they ate something, and we look at the whole concept and the surrounding and say, well, yeah, that had to have been what they ate. But I mean, this one is not one of them. I mean, you're literally telling me on a fucking smorgasbord table, he was like, oh, I normally don't eat meat, but yeah, let me eat that fucking lamb.
And I've heard a bunch of arguments that, like the Feast of 5,000, that there is some scripture that says only bread was served. You know, and then you got to take into account that carnists put this shit together. You know, so obviously they're going to slightly bias with whatever they're doing. Oh, I'm gonna loosely, you know, like the whole locust bean and the locust. They thought he eats bugs. That's gross. Why would you make the guy eat bugs? Like, you know, in your story, I don't know, but
Well, it's a stupid translation in my mind. I mean, because when I look at it and people say, oh, well, they feed the 5,000, he had to have. And I go, okay, look, as a historian, I look at the whole concept and say, you want a godly entity to take 5,000 people and feed them all of this fish. Like, you wanted that to happen. But let's look where they are. Is that even possible? Can they do that? Oh, well, God did this. I don't want to look at it like that. Or is it possible that maybe you mistranslated a word and you were speaking of something completely different, and this something could be put on the bread, which was highly nutritious, which was a very common thing at that time? Maybe that makes a little more sense, and you can feed 5,000 people with it. And we're literally talking about, you know, fishweed. We're talking about like their fishweed spread they made, and it's still a common thing they make.
And like, let's go to this where they're preparing all the fish. Go into that kitchen. And then go into a kitchen preparing a bunch of bread and tell me which one you want more. Like baked bread, like it's just like fruit. It goes into you, and you're like, like the smell, like.
Dude, I used to work with a bunch of Afghan
the region
people,
and everything.
and they
Dude,
used to
fish goes
bring the
bad quick.
naan bread. Oh my god, that shit was heavenly.
Yeah, that has milk in it though usually.
Oh. No,
I gotta look that up.
The rotis don't usually.
My wife makes naan all the time.
It's like that flatbread, but they're from Afghanistan. I'm not sure what similarity it has with like the Indian style one or what.
You're gonna find out that you fuck with the wrong one, boy.
Those tortillas that nixtamalized corn, like it's really similar to like an Indian style bread. It's really good. It's kind of like one of those universal foods.
Yes.
Oh boy. All right, we're gonna.
I'm not in your meat industry propaganda cult.
We're not in your food industry trash apes. That's not how I do it.
Question mark. Because studies show that the diets of African Americans are comparable to standard Western diets in composition in terms of the amount of protein that African Americans eat, the amount of fat, and so on and so forth. But because of something called thrifty gene complexes, Western style diets have been shown to cause higher levels of disease in African Americans and other racial and what you see over here is a graph of what's called glucose intolerance, or what can be considered pre-diabetes, versus people living in West Africa. And the West Africans are in yellow, and people living in the United States and Britain eating a typical Western style diet in green. And West African diets are traditionally plant-based diets. They're low in fat. They contain very little meat and no dairy. You can see that people eating a West African style diet have a very low incidence of both pre-diabetes and actual diabetes. Whereas those eating the Western style, typical American, British style diet, it's off the charts. The diet makes a huge difference. So-called soul food is peculiar to the African American community. Soul food typically includes things like chitlins, oxtails, neck bones, pig's feet, and other high-fat, high-salt, and sugar-laden unhealthy foods. There's a recent study called the Regards Study, which stands for Reasons for Geographic and Racial Differences in Stroke. This study was huge. It looked at over 30,000 participants, both Black and white Americans aged 45 years and older. And what it showed was that most of the increased stroke risk seen in African Americans can be explained by differences in diet. The study showed that the so-called, what they call the Southern diet, and that's a diet that features heavy consumption of fried foods, organ meats, processed meats, full-fat milk, and sugar-sweetened drinks, while downplaying and fruits, salads, and whole grains, increased stroke risk by 63%. Calling it the Southern diet is just a polite, politically correct term for soul food, okay? And if I were to ask you guys, what is the leading cause of disability in African-American males between the ages of 25 and 50, how many of you would say gunshots? How many would say motor vehicle accidents? Do you know the leading cause of disability in young African-American males is stroke? from untreated hypertension. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And again, like I tell my patients, you might think you're a ladies' man, but it's pretty hard to pull the ladies when you're dragging one half of your body and talking out the side of your body. Hey, baby, what you talking about? Nobody's interested, okay? This study also showed that the plant-based diet, which included cruciferous vegetables, green leafy, and other vegetables, fruits, beans, and whole grains, reduced stroke risk by 20%. So I want you guys to understand that what we call soul food is not soul food. It is actually plantation food. West Africans brought to America were forced to eat the literal garbage of the plantations on which they were enslaved. Now, yes, they showed ingenuity and resolve and did their best to transform this refuse that they were made to eat into something that was acceptable. Unfortunately, after we were freed, we claimed what is essentially a scary vestige of slavery and christened it soul food. These foods are not soul food. They are health-destroying plantation food, and we need to let it go because they are not our true heritage. The largest, most destructive epidemic of addiction in the United States is not caused by drugs and alcohol. It is due to our addiction to unhealthy food. The devastating impact of this national eating disorder is reflected in the spiraling rates of diabetes, obesity, heart disease, cancer, stroke, depression, and other chronic ailments. It is estimated that the number of Americans diagnosed with diabetes increased by over 80% in the last 10 years alone. This avalanche of diabetes and chronic disease has affected people of all races and has been fueled in part by the corruption and homogenization of American eating habits by these giant fast and snack food corporations. We have seen what I call the proliferation of junk foods in strange places that put unhealthy foods within easy reach of everyone, coupled with marketing campaigns that encourage people to continually overindulge on a whim. It used to be that you went to the gas station to get gas. You now go there to get pizza, donuts, all kinds of, they say I shouldn't say crap, but you know what I'm talking about. And what I want you guys to understand is that there are companies out there that have nothing on their minds but making money. And all they're trying to do is tempt you and get into your pocket. The fact that you walk out of that place and keel over from a stroke, or you go home and have a heart attack, they couldn't care less about that once they have your money in their pocket. But the point is, we have got to stop allowing ourselves to be manipulated by the garbage we see on TV and listen to the word of God. The damaging and destructive effects of chronic diseases are amplified in communities of color and among racial and ethnic minorities, where these diseases reach disproportionate levels and cause complications and premature death rates well above the national average. It turns out that an African-American male, or actually an African-American period, who develops diabetes is over 240 times more likely to end up with a limb amputation than a Caucasian American. Damn. We're over 100 times more likely to end up on dialysis due to kidney failure or blind because of retinopathy. These diseases are absolutely destroying our community. And they also have a much greater economic impact because they frequently hit the person who's a primary wage earner. So whereas you have a family that's struggling to get out of poverty and to try and do better, suddenly the primary wage earner becomes disabled due to some chronic disease and they're not able to work. And so whereas a family that was previously able to make some kind of economic progress now finds all of their resources going into buying medications and paying for doctor visits for the primary wage earner. This is a shame, and it's completely unnecessary. We can do better than this. So I'm going to wrap up with this quote, Quo Vadis. Quo Vadis is Latin for whither goest thou, or where are you going? And the story goes that when the Apostle Peter was running away from Rome because he was afraid that he was going to be killed, he met Jesus on the road, and Jesus essentially said, where are you going? This is not what I asked you to do. I asked you to be my apostle, to stand up for me. So my question to all of you is, where are you going to go after tonight? Are you going to slide back into the old bad habits that you know are going to destroy your health and your happiness? Are we going to teach these very young children who are relying on us to show them the way, all of the destructive, unhealthy habits that we're struggling with right now? Or are we going to continue on this pathway to health and happiness by doing what God has asked us to do? I encourage you, let us listen to God, to medical research and our inner selves, and return to and embrace the diet that we are designed to eat.
And I believe Milton Mills is a Seventh-day Adventist who are well known for being the outright vegetarian vegans in the Christian community.
That figures.
Look at this guy.
figured. Hey,
Look at
buddy.
this guy.
Anti-nutrient.
61 years old, buddy.
No
Lou Bass, you're
kidding.
looking like Justin Pedini these days, bro.
Justin
my-
Pedini.
I went
Oh, I know this
carnivore.
guy.
I went 100% carnivore about 7 months ago now. I lost almost 50 pounds. I'm sleeping better than I ever did. My mood is better than it ever was.
Lose
My
50
cock
I
is
bet you are.
constantly hard.
You
My
might have lost
cock
like
is
12,
constantly hard.
15 pounds.
He's just tank tops.
Yeah, he's wearing extra small tank tops now to make himself look bigger.
These are the same tops I was wearing when my tits were hanging out. They're not hanging out no more.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough, dude.
Hey, it's a family broadcast, man.
Listen, you know
Lou
what? I
Bass
don't
is
give
one
a
of
fuck
our
what you
resident
guys. I
trolls.
don't give a fuck what you guys want to eat. I'm not a troll. I'm just honest. I don't give a fuck what anybody wants to eat.
Yeah, you're
But
just honest.
You have to understand. See what I mean? You have to understand that I don't give a shit how lowly or small the animal is, whether it's a human or a little insect. For one to live, one must die. No matter what the animal, no matter what the thing. Even a fucking cow eats a certain amount of bugs every time it munches on its grass. So even a
That's a good
cow is
excuse.
killing it. No, it's the truth. And if you analyze it correctly, no matter who or what you are, if you're going to live, something will die. Period. End of story. And you can't deny that, right? Now you might say, "Oh, wow,
Right.
you care about the insects.
Everything.
You care
So
about
it's cool
the
to invest
insects."
into that.
You're going to probably say, "Oh, you don't care about the insects that are sprayed in the fields. You don't really care about that. You just want to kill your meat." You
the
wanna
thing
kill your
is,
meat.
like,
What the
I don't
fuck does
base
everybody
my
relate this to fucking factory farming? Like, you think I
so
spray
I
my
don't
fields?
base
You
my
think that?
morality on that of a cow's.
Listen, you can't survive. You can't feed a population by growing fucking backyard crops. You just can't.
We're not
Right?
doing
You
that.
can.
Nobody's concerned with your backyard
All
crops.
of
point is
Soviet
this.
Russia did. That's what Stalin made him do.
No.
Remember?
I literally
they
feed a
also-
family of 6 on
they
half an
also
acre. I
had
don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
They also had to have signs put up that it's not
That's
okay to eat your
impressive.
children.
Thank
Right?
you.
They had signs. The Russians had to put up signs. Don't eat your children. It's
Yeah,
not okay.
because the commies stole everything from them.
They
and
starved out
started
the
Everything. What the
Ukrainians.
fuck?
Yeah,
They were making bark soup because they starved out the Ukrainians.
Bro, you realize
But-
Stalin was a vegetarian, right? Which is to them, that was their level of veganism. So was Hitler. They didn't eat meat. Neither Stalin or Hitler ate meat.
and look at how fucking
Well,
They starved everybody.
How crazy they were. That's your
Well,
fucking.
the
That's
whole
your.
vegetarian
That's your
Hitler thing was
highest
Goebbels'
level of
propaganda.
vegetarians is Hitler and Stalin, a couple of lunatics.
That was your argument. I was
They
just
weren't-
using your own
they weren't
argument.
vegetarian.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Bro,
true.
listen, it doesn't matter.
That was
You might
Goebbels'
say to me, "Oh,
propaganda
you
to
don't
make
care."
Hitler seem more
I've had-
cool. They said that he's vegetarian. That's not
No,
real.
if I recall, Hitler had some of the strictest animal
He
rights
loved meat.
laws in the world at one time when he
Like
first
you
got in
do that.
Yeah,
office.
even tried to make give animals rights. Why? Because he wanted to keep the people weak. He knew that feeding them plants would make them weak. He
Oh,
knew that
yeah?
taking their
Exactly,
natural food
Noah.
away would make them weak. And
Oh.
I'm sorry, it does. It is what it is. It just does.
Oh.
But you
Well,
might
your-
say,
y-
you guys might
your
say,
mor-
let me get this out,
your
and then I won't
morality.
bother you. You might say, I don't really care about the insects that get sprayed in some field, right? You might say, yeah, you just want to kill a cow.
Why does he keep
because you
saying
care
that?
about it. I just want you to know
This
that
shit again.
insect-
The crop
the
dust
insect-
thing.
It's the third time today.
but I can't get it out. That's
The
why I can't
insect.
finish my statement.
Because
Can't
you're
finish
just a
my-
broken fucking
You know what eats
record.
insects?
You're afraid to hear-
Gorillas.
The poor
Gorillas, bro.
insects.
You're
No,
afraid
gorillas
to
how
eat
hear-
strong
gorillas.
gorillas
Sometimes gorillas eat ants, so it's okay
want-
to fucking eat
their
cows.
best. No, they
You
did
want to
not
let
send
me
their
finish
best.
the statement or
They
not?
rarely
Or are
send
you,
their best to the
afraid?
show.
Fucking go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Are you afraid to hear the whole statement?
Afraid of what? Go
Again.
ahead. Finish the fucking statement.
All right. So stop cutting me off and talking over to me.
I'm
the
sorry.
insects, I would argue, are the most important animals because they're the foundation of life itself. You knock out the foundation, what happens in a house? The house collapses. And the foundation is the insects. And you're spraying them to death for your tofu and your fucking corn chips.
Can I ask you a question then? So we'll just talk about spraying really quickly. What do you think's a better pollinator, a mosquito or a bee? What do you think it is? Do they spray for bees or mosquitoes?
The best pollinators are actually flies. They pollinate more things than bees, more things than fucking any other animal. Flies, just regular flies.
Mosquito.
Well, look it up. You can find out the evidence. Flies
I live in the Midwest.
Yo, what does your livestock eat?
My livestock eat grass
And
bugs.
And what? Okay, so this mass production of animal feed, what does that require?
It requires a lot of spraying of poison and pesticides.
Right. So who's creating the more death of insects?
The vegan diet, 100%.
Yeah,
80%.
1% of us
all
vegan.
farmland is 80. Like you're literally blaming it. I swear to God, this is no different than the rich blaming the middle class.
You believe
Is this because the animals you eat are vegan? Is that because the animals you eat are vegan and the vegan diet causes the most harm, right? That's it.
No,
right?
I'm saying the vegan diet causes more harm because it's dependent on poison. It's dependent on poison.
Dependent on poison. This is completely false. Completely lies.
I just told you I feed a family on 6 on half an acre.
Bro,
That's not false. You think I spray my half an acre? You think that's what I do? My family of 6 is being so toxic because I spray my half an acre?
Answer me this question, but do it honestly. Do it honestly.
Yep.
How much percentage-wise are you making your food for your house off your half acre? And how much are you going to the grocery store for? Total honesty.
I would say that we actually, between me and my wife, we once a month go to the farmer's market. And that's just because we like going to the farmer's market.
Where do you think that comes from? You're not growing all your food on half an acre if you're vegan. I guarantee you.
They're my neighbors.
That's not
They're
the
my
argument.
neighbors.
You might be able to survive on half an acre if you had a cow and maybe a couple of sheep. You might be able to provide all your food with that, all your calories with that.
That's not the argument.
Plants.
We're not trying to be self-sufficient, dude. We're not trying to be self-sufficient.
Yeah,
no,
but if you're
in the end, your argument is slaughter because 15% of all farmland physically goes to fucking produce. So in your mind, it's totally cool to destroy 85% of all farmland because you feel 85% of all farmland goes to livestock. 85% of all farmland.
No, you're so wrong.
What?
Look it up. Look it up. Put me wrong right now. Go ahead, look it up.
I've looked it up. I've seen the
No,
stats.
you haven't looked it up. You're lying. You're in a cult, bro. You're part of a meat cult.
On the show that are carnists.
Get Garland Farms up here to give you the exact studies. He goes into it all very precisely. All the plants, and you talk about soybeans, they grow soybeans 90% for oil. And the mash that's left over would get thrown on the fields or burnt. Now
it's fucking eat soy.
You eat more soy than you eat.
Come on, dude. This is completely intellectually dishonest.
When you fry your potato chips, what do you think you're frying them in? What do you
I
think
don't fry potato chips. What the fuck are you talking about?
Fry your tofu, whatever it is you fry. What do you think you're frying it in? It's all seed oil. Most of it is soy.
Lubass.
Soy.
Okay.
We'll see you later.
So you're telling me.
Good seeing you. You look great, Lubass.
Yeah, we'll see you later because it's.
What the
I met that
was
dude.
that?
I met that dude in real life.
So is this common where like people just log off as soon as they feel overwhelmed or something?
And fucking rage quit.
Yeah.
What's
up,
Darren?
Yo, what's up, Darren?
Dude.
What's up, brother?
Cheers.
Oh my god. I just hate it. Like I don't even need to fucking explain this because we're all here, so it's like pointless. Dude's an idiot.
Well, and the concept, he has no idea the difference between killing and murder. and he doesn't have no concept between animals and insects. There's no sophistication in his logic. It's just a smattering of just to build up sensationalism. Yeah.
Noah hit the nail on the head. He's
see,
like, well, you're
these
debating someone who
insects-
doesn't even know the trivium. Like, there's no point in debating someone like this.
Dude, I know.
He was a natural law follower. He followed Mark. He hung out with Padini a lot. I met that dude.
Guys, I know the trivia. You guys, I heard somebody today, no, actually yesterday, tell me in a chat because they couldn't handle the main chat being a big fight, so they said make a separate fight chat room. So I made a separate Thunderdome chat room, and a guy told me I don't feel bad for the animals that get eaten by humans because animals commit every crime imaginable. They rape each other, they eat each other, and I'm like, dude, I was like, holy fucking shit, dude, like. Are you serious? Like, and there's been 2 people that have told me like yesterday that natural law doesn't apply to animals and I'm like, wait, natural law applies to sentient beings who have the capacity to understand the difference between right and wrong. And they're like, yeah, that's why I can eat an animal because like it doesn't know the difference. And I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Do you self-identify as an idiot?
That's not what
like,
that means.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that means animals are exempt. You're not. Are you stupid? And they were like, well, you didn't answer my question and prove it to me. The burden of proof is on you. And I'm like, so, no. I mean, they're telling me like
Not
it's
everything has proof, guy.
Yeah, like
not everything has
believe
evidence.
something,
There's
and I'm
evidence
like,
for everything in the world.
it's called a cult for a reason. It's subtle. These are the kind of people who believe that they just need to invent a supercomputer to compute the last digit of pi. And I'm like, dude, it's a ratio. It's a concept. There is no end or beginning to it. It's called right and wrong. And these guys are like, yeah, but you didn't answer my question. I'm like, your question makes no sense. This one dude actually, can we name drop? I don't know if it matters, but this dude Kurt said like, so can I shoot a squirrel if I see the squirrel eating a baby bird? And I'm like,
why would you want to?
I was like,
what is this
well, he was trying to justify stuff like that. And I said, yeah, exactly. Like, you guys are like coming up with these scenarios just to prove that like maybe there's some natural law scenario that doesn't apply. And I'm like, you guys are ridiculous. Like, first of all, that's never going to happen. If it did happen, what does it have to do with you? Like, and then this other dude, Steven, who owns like animals and stuff, then he kills to eat, was telling me like there's something very special about raising an animal and loving it its whole life and then consuming it. And I'm like, that's creepy as fuck, dude.
Real special.
The only reason I could ever eat meat is because I never saw the animal getting killed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the reason why most people eat meat. It's going to be one of 2 things. If they see the animal getting killed in front of them, they're going to be disgusted and they're not going to eat it. And the other thing that could happen is that person becomes a secondary psychopath and they're desensitized. You know?
Yep.
And
that's not a good cover up for the most time though, because I'll tell you this much: I was growing up in a hunting family. I did hunt. I grew up hunting, and I was desensitized like a motherfucker. And then I went in the military. I was in the infantry, and let me tell you, you see completely different types of bloodshed. And when it's all said and done, you're like, you're drained of it. I mean, like that's how I felt when I actually got done with service. Like, I mean, John will tell you, I've told him multiple times. Like I was done. Like I was just I had nothing left in me that was like fight when it came to wanting to hurt something at all, ever. And it just, I don't know. And like, as time went on, I questioned my own beliefs. And I mean, I'm not the only one. You meet other vets who went like, you know, like fucking vegan, and like we kind of have the same view. Like we're all like, dude, we were growing up in hunting families.
They saw people getting hurt and they don't want to see it again in any way, shape, or form. They have some compassion and some empathy.
Just it's I don't know, eventually it just kind of sinks in, I guess. And
Aaron, I just like you call it the Thunderdome. That's hilarious.
2 men enter, 1 man leave. I saw that movie when I was 5 years old.
That's awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Thunderdome's great.
Oh, we
Planet of
needed
the
to talk
Apes was
about.
a good one. When I was watching that, I was like 4 or 5 years old. My mom and I went to the library, and she said, "Pick out a movie." I said, "I want Planet of the Apes." I mean, how is that for an ethical, allegory? Like, this is how we treat people, but it's apes, so you're gonna see the torture being done to you. How do you like it?
I try not even to come at that angle about it. When people ask me, like, okay, so you do it for the animals, and I'm like, let me put this into logic for you 100%. It's not even about the animals. What if I told you that? What if I told you it's not even about the animals? What if I told you that you, by natural law, just shouldn't fuck with it? Should just 100% leave it alone and go about your way the way you're supposed to do it? You know, the way you were designed, the way God created you. What if that's what it's supposed to be? And you could sit there and try to give me 10 million different explanations, say, well, I know a guy who lived this way and this is how it was. Or I know another guy and this guy did this and he lived this long. I'm like, I think that's irrelevant. I don't think any of those conversations actually matter at all. Right. I think when it comes down to it, it's about what you are supposed to do. And like, this is where in my mind the godliness comes in, because we ask ourselves, why do we do it in the first place? I think that's where the godliness comes in, because we do it in our mind because it's the right thing to do. Well, where did we get that?
These people are de facto atheists, like some of them in the natural law seminars and stuff. They think that, oh well, natural law applies to humans because they have a neocortex, and I'm like, no, a neocortex is some hardware that helps you do things, but that's not where natural law comes from. That's more scientism. And then they try to tell me, well, show me the health benefits, and I'm like, it's not about benefits. If doing something immoral, if that benefits me, that doesn't make it legitimate.
I love that.
Amen.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, people say, well, you do it so you can get into heaven. I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't really even understand or grasp the concept of heaven. I know there's multiple different explanations and everybody has their own concept of it. Every religion does. But I try not to focus on that at all. I mean, I live such a hell that the life I live now is such a heaven that I don't even care to focus on that. I've realized now, after all the mistakes I've made in my life, that heaven is from where I am now one step away. Every time I go forward, every day is a new lesson. And before it wasn't, because I was so blinded by the understanding of life. And a lot of people are. I mean, most of the world is. They don't get it.
Yeah, doing right action creates heaven. It's the
it does.
Yeah, the health benefit is not contributing to enslaving the world around me, which can be dangerous for your health, right?
Yeah.
I used to live in a monastery.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was
That's cool.
And
it's interesting.
Yeah, we were all vegetarian, all vegetarian, all celibate. No gambling, no intoxication.
Is that Maverick?
Yeah, this is Maverick.
Hell yeah.
Hi, Maverick.
Got this buddy from Animal Control. I saw his face on the internet when my friend sent me a link, and I was like, I can't leave this dude. He's a stubborn boy, half husky,
seems like a cool dude.
Pit bull, and he's great. Yeah, the thing is, he never does anything wrong, really. So he just, he doesn't like. If I tell him to sit, he doesn't sit, and I'm like, that's okay, because I guess you don't need to sit. He just
That's right.
He doesn't obey. He cooperates. Like, he likes to do things that make me happy, and I structure my life around him and Lita, his sister, and that's it. I mean, they're the reason I bought a house, and they keep the house secure because we got a lot of break-ins in the Detroit area, so they keep the house secure. And I basically, on my days off of work, I spend the whole day like playing with them and entertaining them.
Right on.
Awesome.
There you go. I think a big level of compassion that I learned was actually opening the doors and letting my animals do their own thing with no fences. I don't mean like my dog is like I trained him to be my service animal, and he's got a different relationship. I mean, he just kind of hangs out. He's 11 years old now, and his life is like pretty slow, pretty chill. The cats, though, we got the cats, and we rescued them, kind of like what you did. And we were just like, oh yeah, no, don't let that happen, because there's this weird thing of where they just take cats and kill them at the Humane Society. I don't get it. It's really fucking weird. So we rescued a couple, and like, God, they fucked shit up in the house, And I'm just like, look, man, I grew up with cats, but I don't really know what to do with this whole thing. It's like I'm not doing anything, and they're fucking my shit up. I'm like, what do we do? And the wife is like, I don't know. They want to go outside. I'm like, well, fuck, I guess just let them outside. And she's like, well, I don't want them to run away. And I'm like, does it matter? Like, to be honest with you, if we open the door and they run off, like, should they be here in the first place? Doesn't like kind of go against our whole belief system?
Right. My friend left the door open yesterday after we got home from the Megadeth show, and she went out for a smoke and she didn't close it all the way, so it opened up, and Maverick was just standing looking out the door for like 10 seconds, and I'm like, hey, can you close that? And she shut it. He didn't even try to go out. And Lita, when I got her, I didn't realize this, but for the first like 9 months that I had her, from like she was 12 weeks old until about 9 months, I didn't realize that there was this huge gap in the fence that she could have left out at any time, and she never left. She would just stand there like and watch the neighbors, and then one day I just happened to like be walking over to that corner of the yard where the bush was, and I'm like, she could have run away. Like, I used to take naps and just leave her outside. In the wintertime, I open the door and I'm like, you want to come in? She's half husky, half Great Pyrenees, so she's like, she just looks at me and lays back down. She doesn't want to come in? All right, well, I crack my window a little bit so I can hear her bark if she wants to come in. She could have escaped all day, every day. I would have never known. But she felt good there. I drove all the way to Mississippi to get her from Detroit.
Nice. Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, our Brody, our dog, he actually, when he gets, like, I shouldn't say get out, like when he goes outside and just like he wants to hang out on the deck, he wants to hang out in the front of the house, or else when he decides to wander and go explore, he actually just goes and finds the kids where in the neighborhood they are. I've noticed that's kind of his thing. I'll get calls from parents and be like, hey, your dog is in my yard. I'm like, huh? Like, wait, who is this? And they'll tell me. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's like 4 blocks away. I'm like, well, where are my kids? They're like, well, they're also playing in the front yard. I'm like, okay, all right, I guess that makes sense. He probably smelt them and was like, what are they doing?
Yeah, before I was born, my dad had a Sheltie collie, and that's what he used to do. Like, if you let him out, he would just take off to the other neighborhood and find my older brothers and just kind of hang out with them. And even it got to the point where my dad would just tell him, Vito, go get the kids, and then he would just take off, and like 20 minutes later, they'd all be home. They didn't have to train him to do that.
Nice.
There was like a dog that like had a dad or whatever figure, human, and then that human died, and then the dog would like look for them at like this like Japanese subway station for the rest of its life, and then they like made a statue of it and a movie about it and stuff.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
I know that a lot of dog owners they say like in their will or like their last rites that they want if their animals survive them, that they want their animals to see their bodies so they don't feel abandoned.
I was just thinking that when Jerry said it. Yeah, I had a problem when my dad passed away a few years ago. He was going to hospice or whatever, and he agreed for them to turn off his defibrillator. And he knew his time was short. He was 83 years old, so he was ready to go. But he said, like, I just want to get out of the hospital. And I knew it's because he wanted to go home and see his, to be with his cat. And his cat used to be my brother's cat from college. And my brother moved out somewhere and left the cat with my dad. And my dad was always, no, I don't want to take care of an animal. No, I don't want cats. This cat ended up being my dad's best friend. He would be like visiting my brothers and he would be like, I got to go. And they're like, where do you have to go? You have something going on? It's Sunday at 7 p.m. And he's like, yeah, I want to go see Rico the cat. He's all alone. And we're like, wow, he's really my dad's best friend. I think he added years to my dad's life, at least 2. And but yeah, when they told my dad, like, no, you can't go home, I'm like, but you can. There's all these weird rules about like liability, but I said, look, someone with power of attorney can sign you out AMA and you can go home. And then I talked to his power of attorney and they're like, yeah, but nobody wants to go home and see him dead. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like, they told you he had a couple days left maximum. Let the guy, if you don't want to, call the fire department, have them check on him. But let this guy be with his cat. So that made me resolve to, like, if I ever get diagnosed with something, I'm not going to tell family because they're not going to respect my wishes. They're going to respect their feelings.
Oh, they won't even understand.
I have 2 copies of my house key with friends. I said, if anything ever happens to me, take care of my dogs.
Aww.
My 2 best friends have a key to my house for that purpose.
That's nice.
Hard Hat loves talking about his dog.
I haven't had him up in a while.
We have a cat. We have a cat named Steve. He's pretty cool.
Aww.
Cats are cool.
We named our cats after cyclists. We got Lance Burstrong, and then we got Jasper Phillipson. He's the fastest kitty with paws.
Well, guys, I think we're getting about to the 3-hour mark. I'm protein deficient because I'm vegan, so I gotta eat something. Thanks for coming out, everyone. That was a really fun show. Next week's
brother.
Welcome new friends Darren and Jerry. And also Dustin. Yeah. You got to get in our I got I'll send you a link on Facebook to get in our chat. We also started a Telegram this week, so we're going to probably try and start using Telegram more just because it's so much better. The guy who runs it's pretty legit. I don't know if he's vegan or anything, but he's at least cool, like a legit truther guy. But next week, didn't I have something I wanted to do next week? What was it? I don't know. But you guys all should show up again. Yeah. Love you all.
Love you.
Have a good week.
Yes.
See you in the chat. See you in the comments.
See you talking shit to the haters in the comments.
Yeah. I can't. You guys
Darren
all
took
should
over
bring
for
that
me.
up
Thank
in
you,
the
Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
if you
guys should
see
all bring
something,
that up
say
in the comments,
something.
being like, "Why are these people talking shit about Mark in his private chat room where his new, don't get me started."
I call them
Don't get
gefilte
me
fools
started.
because they're carping. Carping is, when you grab at little bits and pieces. It's from the same as carpe diem. They seize on little things. Oh well, define this, define that. So I call them gefilte fools because they're chewed up like a soup sandwich. They're deep in the murky waters of ignorance, and they just got to grab onto little things, little turds that float down, and
we're not in your fucking meat industry propaganda cult. You're in a fucking cult. I'm not in your cult. You fucking losers.
That's right.
And they're always the ones that talk about Mark Stone. Every single one of them. All 3 of them that had beef with me, pun intended, had something to say about Mark's tone. And I said, you guys got burgers in that ass. Y'all got some ass burgers. Like, just heavy.
You're in a fucking cult. I'm not in your cult. Here's a song for you.
Unmerciful.
Sign off.
All right, guys. Good night, y'all. See you
Okay.
next
Good night.
week.
All right, buddy.
Peace.
Yep. Night,
Love you
night,
guys.
please.
Ciao.
See ya.
Have a good one.
Bye. Bye.